And tonight, some really intense Doctor Who debate that will get you behind the sofa as we go live with the Sensefear channel.
Oh, good to see you again. Is it only 24 hours? Well, whatever. Well, welcome to our Sunday Sensefear supper, I'm going to start calling this. Full of nostalgia, news and debate. You know me, I love my debating. We don't take your views for granted. We aim to entertain along the way, punctuate the big debate with mini debate topics with, for example, a brand new item for you known as the Vox Pops from the Vortex. Try my best. So we aim to entertain, question, and we'll always respect your integrity and your intelligence, okay? This is a safe space to be an intelligent Doctor Who fan with an opinion. If this is your first time, it will be quite a ride, so do enjoy. Give us a like and subscribe along the way. Spread the word. Because do you know what? The Sensefear, we're only 2 weeks away from a year. Going for a year. I can't believe I'm in this position. Didn't think I was even going to be here. We are coming to that first anniversary, so please spread the word and make sure you've subscribed with us. It's not quite going to be a cosmic joyride that the season 1 promised to be, but certainly it's going to be stellar, as one of our followers and panelists, Divine and Dragon, normally says. You can see I have a tasty debate coming up. Yes. The Jaguar Effect on Doctor Who. I'm sorry, I think the analogy is fine, dandy, and accurate. So let's debate that in a moment. So, has Doctor Who been implemented into a Jaguar Effect by RTD or Disney or BBC or a mix of the lot? But along the way, we've got the Celestial Toy Box. Lots of merchandise to talk about. As I said, the Vox Pop. Here we go. The Vox Box in the Vortex. We've got the Schedule Slumber Blankets. Why not? Why not, I say. Celebrity Materialisations, where some of our Doctor Who actors has been out and about. And there's loads of news. Did you see Shooty? Did you see Shooty and the importance of being earnest? Is there anything there that could trigger? We'll have a look. So, there's a lot to talk about. There's more stuff about Joy to the Worlds, blah, 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 blah. I could go on, but we should get on. We should get the people on, shouldn't we? So I've got my panelists at the ready. She was on last night. She's been busy streaming herself. So here she is, the Queen of the Walk, Rachael. Chat, but I was going to say chat, but don't shout about it. But it's chat.
Oh, just chat about it. Don't shout about it. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm back.
It's only a day since we were doing the war games, weren't we?
I know.
And that was a good stream. I enjoyed
that. Was a good stream.
That was a
I
good
enjoyed
chat.
that one.
There it was. The war games. What is RTD and the BBC up to? If you haven't watched it, you've missed something, because me and Rachael did a duo. And we duelled with that topic for an hour. So there you go. So do join us for that one. But so, Rachael, are you all prepped to be back? Because I know you've rested all day and done nothing with your channel.
Oh, absolutely nothing with my channel. No, I'm as rested as I possibly can be. We all know that my video went a bit pear-shaped earlier, so I've hopefully fixed that. So, yeah, fingers crossed. So be sure after this stream, don't go now, but after this stream to check out the video that I have finally fixed.
Right. Agreed. We all agree. We all agree. I have to say the thread tonight is really impressing me. I'll try and catch up with you all, but please, you know the topics. I'll really be looking for your ideas on the topics. Now, he's in the TARDIS. Let's have a look. Oh, he's reading again.
He's reading.
Oh, my giddy aunt.
Yeah, I think Jeremy's always kidding on. Do you think he even reads any of these books?
Yeah, you do.
Yes, I know. Every week he's there, you know. I mean, he's like a good student of Doctor Who.
That's right.
I wonder why you're in the Troughton TARDIS. Any reason?
I don't know. It feels comfortable.
So
my home. It's my home.
You back because you've been traveling around today, and so we've got two Brits aboard at the moment. But I've decided to go across the pond again. You know me, like to do that. So here we go. Cliff, good to see you.
How you doing, everybody?
Welcome to our stream. You've got some great, interesting opinions, and you'll be a great addition. So thanks for coming on board.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, I think it'll be tasty tonight, Cliff. Very tasty. So please don't hold back. And then we've got he's come early. He's up for it. I can see he's just been lining himself up. He can't help it. He's enjoyed this so much last week that he's come back for more. Remember, play fair thread, but the contrarian's here. There he is.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Now, so the thread to
hello.
Play fair. You're paid by the minute to actually be the contrarian. No, and to be yourself as well. I mean, it's Doctor Who fans having fun.
True indeed. True
It
indeed.
is.
Oh dear.
So,
Just stop being Santa, by the way, hence the beard.
Well, shh.
Oh yes, good point.
Yeah,
Good point.
Trade Secrets Act.
Ah.
So,
a big sack of Doctor Who toys.
yes. Are there any character options in your? Yes. So anyway, let's cheer ourselves up as Doctor Who fans before we really get going with that tasty topic. In case you don't know why you're even here, there you go. Has RTD already done a Jaguar Effect on Doctor Who? Oh gosh, I'm even trying to trigger people. I'm outrageous. So, is that I mean, it's Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, depending on where you are. Are you feeling like that? That poor Cyberman. Look at this.
I thought he was moonwalking at first, actually.
I think it's a male Cyberman. I'm going to be sexist. I think he's thinking, I haven't started my Christmas shopping.
I think he's got a pole up his back.
Yeah. Well, that's better than what my Who puppets have up there. Yes. Have you got that? Have you got that cyber helmet, Jeremy?
I'm not sure. Is that no? I know that's one of the new ones, isn't it? No, I don't think they made one, did they?
Okay.
I've got the first one. From the new series.
I've got a lot of bandages.
Cliff, do you reckon? Do you like these new Cybermen? I don't.
Too robotic.
Yeah. I don't like anything that's like the Borg, I have to say, because I like our franchises to stay separate. But there you go, Mr. Contrarian. That was you today, wasn't it? You were
Pretty much. My eyebrows aren't that attack orientated, though, I must say.
Oh, no, you'd have the kids in tears. Can you imagine if you were the Contrarian Santa Claus?
What about those killer robot Santas?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would be disturbing as well. Yes.
Oh no, they'll be taken away. You want to be that Santa in the Daily Mail who's taken away at lunchtime with the elves, you know, the hook. Yeah, I don't know.
I wasn't aware of this. No, my elves are very well trained, very pleasant indeed. And they give me ice cream, which I think is a very kind thing for them to do.
Are they in a union?
The ice cream.
I'm not aware.
The elf service. No, sorry, that's
you had to say that. I know. It was allowed.
I like this though. Let's have a bit of fun again. Look at this, Tom Baker with a Dalek. I mean, have you been tempted? Wouldn't you just love to
cut the eye stalk off?
I know. Well,
Whoa.
Well, Bernard Cribbins was always with the saying, you have to put some clay or potato or something on it, wasn't it? But no, you could splurge gun it, but just cut it off. But of course, I just thought, well, let's kind of have that lovely feeling, a Tom Baker feeling. Tom Baker, Doctor Who meets his match, computers. Well, you know all about that, Rachel, today.
Oh, yeah. I certainly met my match of computers today. And I lost epically.
I'm not ahead of the game on this one either. And of course, I find it's quite funny, because he's our king and she's our queen at the moment. I find it fascinating that we've got pictures of Daleks arresting them almost and taking them away for interrogation. Look at it. Can you imagine Queen Camilla in the Lalla Road role and being interrogated in Destiny of the Daleks? You will tell us the truth. Do you like Megan?
No comment. No comment.
Yeah, no comment.
I make no comment. You will or will exterminate you. I think it would be classic. I think you could do it. Cliff, do you see, do you hear much about Harry and Meghan over there? Or are you all in denial that they're living there?
They're in the tiniest of spotlights. Whenever she says something quote unquote controversial, and they think that we need to care about it over here.
Yes,
it's not.
Yeah,
it's pretty sparse. But there is usually punctuated to get it to elicit a response. That's why I just
Well, look at that. I mean, who's in charge there? The Dalek or our king?
I don't think he knows there's anybody behind him.
He's in trouble. That's it. It looks as though it's a dystopia for Britain there. So, Doctor Who, that's what it's all about. So let's get nostalgic a little bit. Now, this might get you going, everybody, before I really do start getting into what's going on with Doctor Who today, 2024. Does this warm the cockles? Does this get you going?
Oh, yeah. Very much so.
They look good.
But that's not the right... That is the right cover for Tomb of the Cybermen, but it's not the right cover of Tomb of the Cybermen, is it?
It's been tinkered.
It has been tinkered. Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking that's a bit of a conundrum.
Well, they put was it an invasion Cyberman on the front of it originally, and then someone changed it back to how it should have been.
Got you.
Well, this is the thing, that PR people have got no real link with production. They just know the title. They know what they want to do. And this has caused multiple problems throughout Doctor Who's last 60 years. The production people have been most upset by what has been done by PR so many times. It's extraordinary.
And we could be talking about advertising PR today, a little bit later with our main item. But I mean, you take a look at the version of the Radio Times. I mean, I wasn't around for this. I was around for the book, actually. It was the book that introduced me to Tomb of the Cybermen. Great story. In fact, actually reading it first, and the whole archaeology, the expedition, the electrocution, Toberman, all of that stuff, absolutely loved it. And I think words like tomb and Cyberman, when you're reading it, your imagination goes wild. And because you can imagine this enormous tomb. And actually, when we found the video, it wasn't bad, actually. And I think it just about delivered your expectations. What do you think, Rachel?
What, this?
Yeah.
Certainly meets up to my expectations. I love the Tomb of the Cybermen.
Yes,
I really do. I like my favorite character is probably Toberman, actually.
And it tends to be that's. I mean, I've also mentioned Tomb of the Cybermen because when we were talking about the war games in color, and we said, they're going to have to edit heavily. You think, well, there's 90 minutes there of Tomb of the Cybermen. Colorize it, go for it, baby.
They could do it. They could definitely do it.
And it would have. I would have been beautiful to make this in color and not have to edit it.
But don't change the effects.
No, but they'd want to edit it and they'd want to change the effects, wouldn't they?
Of course.
Yes. Because I have to say, when you see it even now, and we all know Doctor Who does a quarries and it does all that lot, but I think it looks a little bit more filmic and it feels bigger. The soundtrack helps. Cliff, have you been introduced to this? I know we were talking yesterday about starting with Tom Baker. That was your discovery of Doctor Who, but have you come across and watched Tomb of the Cybermen now?
Oh yeah. Once we started getting the DVD, the VHS over here, then that's all I spent my money on through the 2000s or whatever, and got pretty much everything. So I've been back to revisit these, and I agree. The filmic quality and it's indicative of all the black and whites, in my opinion. They really knew what they were doing cinematically before there was really a cinematic attitude. They knew how to set up the shots, use the darkness of the stage. They had a very small amount of space to do it in. So pulling off the scale of this story, yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah.
Well,
Paul Richards. Paul Richards has been posting on Facebook or Robots of Death. I'm reviewing that on Tuesday, and as a recording, Paul, so you'd have to wait for it. But yes, Tomb doesn't work for RTD. He needs the Doctor to be flirtatious and ban out a twerk. Round one, we're rocking and rolling.
I've just got this vision of Patrick Troughton doing that now. Don't just no.
Well,
Him
Paul
running down
Richards,
that alley, jumping as he gets shot at, is very Turkish, isn't it?
well, that's it. So since we've Paul Richards, yellow card to you because you've set the toxic debate up.
That's why my eyes are stinging, I think, isn't it?
That's for you, Paul, because we've sunk already.
I can tell you what though. Actually, the Patrick Troughton Tomb of the Cybermen was one of his first stories that I actually had, and what the Cybermen coming out of their tombs like that, the little honeycombs, was one of my favorite bits in it.
It's
Certainly
classic.
extremely memorable to me from first showing. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Well, so Mr. Contrarian, there, when you did actually see this as a kid when it first came out.
I did, yes, I saw the lot, yes.
So did it build a legendary status in your memory from watching it?
Well, I wasn't aware of the concept of legendary. I just thought that's powerful.
Yeah.
That's something big. And I wasn't in the process of ranking the creatures, but they scared me. They were. I used to have nightmares about robot things that would sort of turn around.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell if it was human or not. But these things, you could tell they were robotic. But then to spot that they were also partly human, oh, that's a nasty twist that was.
Yeah. And Stephen Braddock, good to see you. I love Tomb of the Cybermen. I showed it to my friend who'd never seen this story, and she thought it was so much better than today's TV and loved it in black and white. I suppose, Stephen Braddock, there's this cautionary tale. They are good in black and white, some of these. And since RTD now seems to have a mission to colorize all of black and white Doctor Who, it's going to get hit one day. Jeremy, I've forgotten where you stand on the colorization argument.
Well, I'd just rather them just colour them in the whole of the episodes and just leave it at that. But I was just going back to the story as a whole.
Yeah.
It moves at such a fast pace
Yeah.
that it is a kind of contemporary of today's Doctor Who. It's quick, even for the 4 episodes.
Yes.
I kind of don't notice the pace though, because I'm so engrossed in it. Sorry, I'm looking for something.
And that's the thing. It's very good.
Well, Anthony Green's asking us which character is seen as problematic. By the way, Anthony Green, I've seen it and I've read the book, and I don't know who should be problematic, but I'm guessing, Jeremy, which character would it be? Toberman, do you think?
Toberman, yeah.
Toberman.
Is the problematic nature of it because it's how we depict another ethnicity? Is that what it?
Yeah, well, I suppose he's got to be. He's a villain, and obviously, I suppose that.
Other
But
chocolate
then,
bars are available.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, and then he dies at the end, but he becomes a hero. So,
he does. He
yeah.
does.
The villains are foreign extraction,
Mm.
so it's a little bit kind of. But I suppose back then it was okay,
They'll try and cut whatever they can from him, I guess you could say, because he doesn't have much to say.
No. He didn't have much to say in Terror of the Autons either.
No, he didn't.
So there you go.
Said
There's your
anything.
answer, Anthony Green. Peter Venkman, they'll
Oh.
probably say Tubman's problematic or something bad. Well, there you go. I think we've guessed. I don't say. Look, it is what it is, and Tomb of the Cybermen is a fantastic story.
It's a period piece of television, and that's
Yeah.
how it should be treated for the period of the time, 1967.
And Stephen Braddock has said it, and I agree with you. The music builds it. I mean, sometimes you almost feel as though there's a bigger budget on it when it's in a quarry, and but it just feels bigger than normal Doctor Who. Actually, this story,
It's stock footage music, isn't it?
yeah,
This is one that has its own thematic score. There's theme lifts when the Cybermen appear. It's unique to the story. It's not
Sorry.
just a typical across the board musical.
yeah. Now we've hit a kind of other anniversary at the moment, and it was for 30 years in the TARDIS, and it was Gary Finney-Zare who showed it the other day. 30 years in the TARDIS was shown on this day, the 29th of November, 1993. So we're just past the anniversary. Now, does anybody remember seeing this? Because I remember the moment when, you're watching Nicholas Courtney take us around. You're seeing Autons in the streets again, but it's been updated. They kind of show the same scene again, but updated sort of thing. You saw the amazing moment when that little kid walks through the TARDIS doors and they manage to do the effect for the first time ever. And I remember thinking, oh my God, this is only in the 90s. If Doctor Who came back now, the things we could do. Who remembers seeing this?
I do.
I don't. I would have been too young, even though I vaguely remember my first 2 episodes of Doctor Who. But I don't remember this.
I was probably working or at a prom concert. No, I don't remember.
It's obviously on one of the DVD things now, but Jeremy, obviously you have seen it. I mean, did it?
Oh yeah,
did it
in all the
grab you?
versions of it. Yes, it did. Yes, it was very good. I must admit. Elizabeth Sladen was in it, and her daughter was in it.
I'd be interested to see the remake of the Autons breaking out of John Sanders' window in Ealing Broadway, because I used to have to walk past that on my way to school every day.
Wow.
And that was rather a concerning experience for me. And I never liked shop dummies. I refer you to my comment about robots that look like humans.
Well, Rachel's with you on that one. Rachel doesn't like Autons either, really.
100% with you.
Brilliant program, just a little not very nice.
Well, no, I mean, I think to you, Jeremy, who remembers it, it was that TARDIS effect at the end that
it was
wowed me.
Yes, it was very good in terms of special effects, and as I say, gave you more sort of hope that the series would come back.
Oh, it did give you a good vibe of what was
possible.
Oh, yeah. It really did. And yeah, SG agrees with us on that one. I remember seeing, says Stephen, the fantastic recreation of the Emperor Dalek in the throne room. What a shame it never reappeared in the actual series. I agree, because actually when we did get season 1, the other season 1, the Emperor Dalek was done differently. So it was very different. So, Cliff, have you seen this documentary?
Yep. I had the VHS. It obviously was, to my knowledge, we were probably about a year to 6 months always, if not more, behind whenever it was something released in the UK. So it was not even, it was mentioned in Doctor Who magazine, right? And so there was this constant, what are you talking about? And wanted to see it, and suddenly it would pop up on the VHS collection at the store. And I've got it up there. The one that's got the circular images, I believe, on the cover of each of the Doctors. And yeah,
I
it's a cool.
I
ret-
just
it's a
remember
cool
going,
retro. My favorites are the Draconians, but
yeah, because they had Ogrons in it. There's Draconians. You had a little chase sequence. There were various little things that really, really did grab the eye. Anyway, just to kind of finish off our little bit of nostalgia, everybody was waiting for the next big debate item. I can't help colorized black and white photographs. Obviously, a thing. Me and Jamie at the moment are watching the Dalek Invasion of Earth. We're currently up to part 4, and I actually do think the actual William Hartnell story is so atmospheric. The street scenes, the music, it's much more gritty. I mean, when you get to the Bedfordshire mines, the extras and the railway track and everything, I think it was really well done. Now, I'm a contrarian. Is this one of your go-tos as a nice kind of comfort blanket of Doctor Who viewing?
It's a lovely thing. I remember that the first one really quite well, and the impact of Daleks being Daleks when they were a new thing can't be overestimated. It's quite extraordinary. I don't want to pollute it really by going back and watching it lots and lots of times.
Yeah.
Because there's so much else to see. But I suspect later tomorrow I'll probably watch it again.
I'm aware. It's like like I say, I'm about to watch Robots of Death for the umpteenth time, ready to review.
Always.
And I like it so much, but I'm always aware I don't want to, like you're saying, the contrarian, I don't want to watch something so much that I forget how I first felt when I watched it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I don't want to lose. Cliff,
yeah.
Cliff, you've seen this one?
absolutely, yeah. You can recognize it right away. And this is another good example of where in the black and white, the depth of field is a little bit better solved. Sometimes, to me, that's one of the problems with the colorization. Our brains register color pretty well, and when you see something that's been recolorized, you process it differently in different levels. If they go through the whole colorization process, I'm kind of opposed to colorization and then dump the rest. You've got to retain, like Jeremy said, it's a moment in history fundamentally. And so you don't want to get rid of the black and white, and a lot of these are more evocative in black and white to me, especially this one. This one gets grim.
And you sometimes can notice the cardboard cutouts a bit more obviously when you, because the sense of depth of field changes. But yeah, I mean, we've got is this the Sensorites, I think, isn't it? Oh no, Galaxy 4.
Yeah, Galaxy 4. Yeah.
Galaxy 4. I always get the titles mixed up for some very strange reason. Again, that looks a little bit more stark. I can see the drapes on the floor, sort of thing. But of course, just to finish off for this element, I mean, at the moment, if I go bigger for you, Jeremy, you're currently in the new TARDIS interior there.
Yes.
And then you go to that one.
Yes,
and you go,
it's a bit bland, isn't it? It needs certain things in it, like a hat stand and like a treasure chest, and some bits and bobs of things.
Well, okay, you're trying to depict a spaceship. I know TARDIS, but something alien, and they've gone big to maybe show off budget or scale or something. But I think they've forgotten one of the fundamentals of drama, which is atmosphere and mood. And actually, Rachael, surely a set needs to feel a little bit kind of touchy-feely in any shape or form to make it work.
Of course it does. 100%. 100%. I mean, if it's not actually put into, the time period, or like given the right sort of like aging, it just feels completely off. So you've got to do it in order to actually make it more believable.
I don't know what the actors are going to.
That can be taken apart and put back together again.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, because they didn't have studios you could just leave the set up in.
I mean, presumably,
no.
Presumably, this is a semi-permanent set.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they don't take it down.
Yeah.
Unless they're finished with the set completely.
And a lot of this stuff would then have been reused in something else back then.
It's
But
an
I mean-
actual madness, because like I'm saying, I'm showing Jeremy's interior there, where basically there's not much to it. There's a fancy lighting effect, let's be honest, and lots of ramps.
Yeah.
But as a director or an actor, apart from holding a railing, twiddling a few things on one of the consoles, there's not too much to do. And as a writer, I think it's a bit limiting. However, the one there, wow, so much you can do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's lots of different things in there to appease the eye, such as the different chairs, the designs of the chairs, etc. The TARDIS computer bank,
I do
and the
miss the
light.
hat stand, though. You're right. Yes, I loved that hat stand, so I got one and was very pleased to see it every day.
Yeah.
Then you got like a clock, and then of course, I'm just trying to think of all the other things that the
Yeah.
Doctor had. Bits of artifacts within
Yeah.
the TARDIS itself, collections over the years, which I think is quite
Now,
interesting.
Cliff, as an American, and you can like British TV, I know, and various things, but when you saw one of the early TARDIS interiors, did you think quirky, interesting, out there, fascinating? Where did you stand?
Unexplained. There was a definite degree. That's one of the things I think that the show's been missing for a while, is that you can have your bookshelves and rocking chairs, but if it looks like somebody's home, then it doesn't give the gravitas to why that one chair is there. The time that I was going through, and then when you get to the part where the old control room, which may be the new control room with Sarah and Tom, you start wondering how many of these bits are just scattered throughout the vastness of the space without being shown that it's a huge space. Having one door that they come in from the outside cuts it off and boxes it into a sort of a neutral stage where they can have their exposition. And there's one door that goes back into the rest of the TARDIS, which kind of always prompted me to think, how much more is out there? I didn't need to see the giant, huge, vast control room that we've got now. It's cool. I really like the look of it, the way the roundels are repurposed and the doors are roundels and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's overstating.
It's only a desktop in the storyline, so they could just drift into a corner and have the Sylvester McCoy one where he's drinking tea just before he gets shot, which I really like the look of that one. I'd like to see that come up
in
again.
the movie.
Yeah, from the movie, yes.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah.
That was the most homey that I think I wanted it to be, and it was perfect for that story. Because they're trying to introduce, that was another one that was almost like that soft reboot where they're trying to introduce the whole concept of Doctor Who to people again after the hiatus.
Well, David Hardin is saying here,
Oh, yes.
has the jukebox been played yet? Well, it has, and of course it was going to be used a bit more. And in one of our news items, we'll talk about the music that was going to be playing in Space Babies until it was edited out. And you might, depend on what you think, go hallelujah or be full of dismay. So, yes, it's interesting that jukebox is going to be used for so many reasons. How was it used in Devil's Chord? Remember that one?
Oh, disgustingly. That's how it was used. I hated that.
Breaking the fourth wall and doing the
In so many ways.
music.
Oh, awful. Making the sound close to us as if we're hearing it in stereo on headphones, and then it's the sound in the room, and it's the theme tune. I mean, come on, this is just beyond a joke. It's appalling.
Yeah. Well, I've promised a new item, and we're gonna go for it. We're gonna go for it, right? Ready, Gan? We're getting close to our Jaguar Effect, and it's a big one. It's a big one. But our first Vox Pops of the day, okay, is going to be So we do Vox Pops in the Vortex, which is I glean things from X from anywhere, any fan who says anything over the week of interest, and it might cause a debate, it may not. So here we've got Jacob Booth, who said, now that we've had season 25 released with new special effects for every story, I'd love to see them do the same for season 7. I wonder if the budget would allow for updating all 4 stories because they mostly look good. There's just a few bad special effects in each, mainly, a color separation overlay. And of course, these were the 4 he picked from Inferno, Ambassadors of Death, Silurians, and Spearhead from Space. Do you know what? I'm starting to pull back from all this. Me and Rachel were talking about the war games last night, and I'm starting to think, stop tampering, actually. Just leave it as was. I can deal with it. I've watched it. I'm fine. I'll go down the road. Jeremy, I'm sure you love season 7. Do you think we really should leave them alone now?
Well, season 7 was the first season I watched. So it's quite impressionable on me. Yeah, I'd rather them leave it and just not tinker around with the special effects. I mean, it's all right for the DVD and the Blu-ray, but if they're going to do like a special presentation, cut it down to about 90 minutes, then no, I don't think that's a very good idea.
I just don't. I mean, I'm looking at, for example, the the autumn kind of spheres coming.
Yeah.
I could cope with that.
Yeah, so could I. I mean, it's a period piece of television now. I mean, as I say, that's part of the charm of it.
Yeah.
I'd have serious contentions around Spearhead from Space having the effects being redone. I don't like the Autons. I'm terrified of them, but I wouldn't want it changed. I just don't like them just doing that,
Right, Rachael, they're not real. They're not real.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you.
There's a man behind the costume.
The reassurance. Thank you.
I mean, contrarian, Simon, where do you stand on this? I mean, are you happy with these Blu-ray collections when they do pick on a season? Like if they did do season 7 next, me and Rachel were talking about this yesterday, saying, are they doing the war game story so that they can actually merchandise-wise put a regeneration at the end so that it tees you up for season 7 merchandise? Now, would you be happy, contrarian, with changing the special effects and upgrading them?
Well, having worked on the show and had a hand in making some of the now rather sneered at special effects, I think it was not intentional for them to be in any way poor. It took quite a long time of lining up cameras and putting cardboard in the right position and scrubbing around stuff to make things work at all, and getting lasers to come from the gun and hit the target. And when you watched it and they didn't, it just felt wrong. It would be good to not change the style, but get the aim right.
Cliff, where do you stand on this philosophy about what we do with old shows and do we upgrade them?
Well, I'm of the philosophy that upgrade is subjective. You can use modern technology to do all kinds of things, but is it an upgrade? Is it better? So it's like either like he's saying, get rid of some of the fuzz, maybe erase a wire that fix the outline of the CSO. That was always a problem that they would try to mitigate, but sometimes it didn't work as well. Those kind of things, I'm all for. Bring it up to the standard that they hoped for in the day. Yeah. Because there were a lot of this was people weren't doing CSO regularly on a regular basis on television.
Indeed,
and it wasn't happening. And Doctor Who was, you think of it being cutting edge.
It was working out as you go on, yes.
It was storytelling. It was they were trying things out, and a lot of times they realized too late. Gosh, we really didn't have the budget for that. And but it was their attempts, and they're trying to make it the coolest story they can possibly make it, and translate those scripts. So it's a little bit like saying, well, gosh, the Sistine Chapel would look a lot better with chrome.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, no, maybe, I don't know. It's not my opinion, but I don't think that's an upgrade.
Well, we've got
Change.
David. There's a few in the thread now starting to say, let's face it, there's a few philosophies going on here. As David Hardin says, I'd rather they spent their money animating lost stories than colorizing and adding modern effects to the classic ones. So there's one point of view there. But John Steed, I wanted to mention this one from John Steed. All this extra effects is a gimmick to sell more. And I have to say, I suppose there is a position where most Doctor Who fans, we have a VHS copy. If we thought it's been enhanced and upgraded and cleaned, yeah, there's a point when you might go, well, if it's, you know, I can see the Time Meddler and a few could really have done with a massive enhancement and tidying up of the quality. And as technology's gone on, I'd probably upgrade that. But yeah, to make me want to buy a whole collection, I think there's a lot of people like with the Happiness Patrol and everything are going, oh, well, there's all these extra effects or the Rutan and Horror of Fan Rock. But since the War Games has been enhanced, I know we haven't seen it yet, and the Daleks and what they did last year, I am starting to roar back on all this, you know, I really am.
I mean, the big question is, where do you draw the line on all of this in terms of colorization, in terms of editing, in terms of cutting some of the dialogue because it's not appropriate now, etc., etc., etc. You know, it could be going into what I would call very dangerous territory, and you know, changing the style and the flow of the originality of the classic series.
Yeah, and I take Cliff's point as well, very strongly, where you say upgrade. I mean, I'm an English teacher. Upgrade that they're selling as a con. Possibly, it is not technically an upgrade. It might be just somebody's version, somebody's editorial opinion, which can change with the wind every few years with a fad.
Absolutely.
I mean, if a boom microphone comes into shot, what do you do? Do you leave it in or do you edit it out?
Yeah,
you know.
And there is a beauty in the old days of seeing some of that. I mean, I've just been watching, like I said, Dalek Invasion of Earth, and I can see the shadow of the mic in various places, but I'm still bought into the story.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
My father's job was to make sure the booms weren't in shot in Doctor Who. He worked on quite a lot of them. He was a sound supervisor, and he would much rather it was not seen, I can assure you.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd all like that, but you know, do we edit it out?
Yeah.
Why not?
Now,
if it gets in the way of the story flow, then yes. If it doesn't, well, it doesn't matter.
Well, and even to that, it's a testament to the fact that your dad was there working on the boom mic. That's the way I see those kind of errors. It's a slippage, but it proves that there were people making the effort and doing all that historical stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of mistakes that are in the chase. I mean, you know, you'd be all day trying to think, how do we sort that problem out? Well, there's a Dalek in the background where it shouldn't have been. It's cues too early.
and it goes down into the depths because you're going to get to places where you see the seam in the flats and you know, if somebody's got a loose thread. How far do you take that in terms of I'm going to correct an error? I don't see it as an error. I see it as a part of the historic nature of what we're doing inside that little room.
And when you go to theatre, you might see a mistake. You might see something. It's part of the experience. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I said the Sensory is 50 weeks old, and Michael Nemo, you've got some notoriety because you're the first super chat we've ever had.
Yeah.
And so, forgive me for taking a few minutes because we actually do like our debate anyway. So, Michael Nemo asks, the design of the roundels and their ability to pique curiosity cannot be underestimated, plus the inside-outside size differential. I mean, where do you... You're talking, Michael, about the new TARDIS interior? The design of the roundels and their ability to pique curiosity cannot be underestimated? Because where does everybody stand on, you know, when you started having Peter Davison's Doctor and Colin Baker's Doctor take one of the roundels off and there was circuitry behind and they started to do bits and bobs like that. My favorite Michael Nemo moment was actually Enlightenment. That lighting, that orange lighting when you had the White Guardian appear in episode 1. I kind of like that colouring of a TARDIS when it's a bit darker. The orange roundels, that seemed to work for me. Roundels for you? I mean, I know, Jeremy, you seem to be saying you've got a technological. Are you? Can you hear
Yes.
me now? Yeah.
I think the Daleks have entered into the arena, causing problems with Restream.
Well, we'll keep.
Yeah, sorry, about roundels.
Yeah, I mean, for some reason, I had a problem with, for example, in Attack of the Cybermen, when the Colin Baker pulls a roundel off and he's messing
Yeah.
on with the. I didn't like all that stuff. I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
roundels just on the wall and not to be played with.
Just like wallpaper, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought that he got at that one so he could put things in it. Things are stored in some of them, but I can't remember which doctor said, "I always like the roundels. What are they for?" No, the roundy bits, I think he called them. But, it's a nice thought that even the doctors don't know what they're there for.
Yeah, it's weird because and I'm trying to deal with the logic of what Michael said. The design of the roundels and their ability to pique curiosity cannot be underestimated.
So they're never explained, hence the curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of them, aren't there? I mean, in the one that Jeremy's got now, there's the lights now. That's the trouble. They've changed.
There's a disco in there.
It's a
Yeah,
Weird
discontinuity.
things on the floor
And
as
an
well. I
announcement
mean, that massive hammer materialized out of the floor.
Oh well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Cliff, what were you saying then about the roundels?
To me, and this is after watching it many times over and over, the same stories. Where it's a discontinuity moment. It's a place where you're suddenly taken out of whatever's outside, and you're in a different continuum. And to me, that's what it does pique that curiosity. It's what's going to happen in here is amplified by the fact that you got the roundels on the walls. It makes it the safe space, like I said, where they can do their exposition or their.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at Jeremy's now, so we're back to the Troughton years. I mean, there's a problem with the one you've got behind you, where one bit was just a little bit
A blown up photograph.
a blown up photograph, yes.
Oh dear.
But yes, that piqued none of my curiosity. I just thought, oh gosh, from William Hartnell's TARDIS to that is a bit of a shocker, isn't it?
Did
have been-
he must have roundels for a few of his TARDI?
So anyway, Michael Neimer just wants to clarify. I was thinking of An Unearthly Child and the movies only.
Oh.
The movies, I mean, in the first one, it felt like it was all wires and everything. It felt like I didn't like the TARDIS in the movies at all.
It looked very Heath Robinson, didn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, you had the Edwardian version with the Tom Baker, which obviously was a nice carvings and a bit of stained glass, of course.
But very static.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I kind of like the deeper ones in the Pertwee era, the very deeper roundels. They're
The round ones. Concave, the concave ones.
Yeah.
At the Time Monster, yeah.
It was a very solid TARDIS then, it felt like.
Mm.
Well, especially around the Three Doctors period.
An interesting thought is another thing which has unexplained lumps on it is the Dalek skirt.
Yeah,
They'll
that can get
explain
bigger or
lumps.
smaller, yes. Well, misses. Right. Well, I have done a little warm-up debate, so let's go for the slightly bigger debate now, which is the one that was in our advert. So here we go. The Jaguar Effect on Doctor Who, our burning issue for tonight. Yes, so let's, I can't tease people forever. The burning issue tonight is, of course, has RTD already done a Jaguar Effect on Doctor Who? Now, I saw in the thread ages ago, somebody asked, I think it was Anthony Parkinson, maybe, what is the Jaguar Effect? Well, of course, it's Brendan being an English teacher, just using an analogy. But what I'm saying is, I think everybody has seen the Jaguar advert now. They've either heard about it, seen it, or sorry, David asking as well. Well, I'll clarify then, and I'll show you,
Thank
David.
you. I haven't got a clue.
Well,
Can
I'll
I-
show you. Was obviously like a good teacher, I won't assume. So what I will do is I'll show you. What I've done with that thumbnail is the Jaguar advert studio and rock, and I've just taken the people out and put the shooty characters in. But basically, here's the advert. I'll show you it on big screen first. So David Harding and all those. Yeah. Now, if you look at the language and then you look at what's going on, and then I'll make my pitch as to what I think, why I'm making a comparison to Doctor Who. So I'm looking at the keywords as well. That they're talking about the Jaguar Effect, which is supposed to be for a car, of course, is let's create exuberant, and then live vivid, and then delete the ordinary, break molds, copy nothing. And then you can see they have all the models together. There seem to be trans characters there. Obviously, we're hitting the DEI tick list pretty well.
We've got a little
And
TARDIS.
they seem to want to have them vibrant colours. It's all about vibrant colours nowadays. And I think when I get to the shooty and the importance of being earnest, I feel again that we're doing vivid colours. But that's the Jaguar advert. The Jaguar logo's been changed. You know how these media companies love to get their mitts on something traditional and change it. And there you can see Jaguar, the J and the R, very nondescript. And look at what Jaguar used to look like. And that just brings me to the point saying, well, I actually will contest that we've possibly been going through a Jaguar effect in Doctor Who for at least a year or two, maybe since 2005. I will go into more detail as we go, but just as an opening pitch, does anyone want to buy into that idea?
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you on it.
So,
It's all about colours, isn't it? It's colours of the rainbow, which are the predominant colours.
As a
Talk
new
about
viewer to
culture.
the comparison, I would say so too. It looks as if the Jaguar advert was pulling things from the original Apple advert as well, with the lady with the big hammer and such like stuff. It's creating a mismatch of stuff, and it would be difficult for the Doctor not to fall into the same area if is following a modern design tropes.
One of my big pitches on this argument, Rachael, if I just flash this back up, is that the people who've mocked the advert for Jaguar have said they weren't even selling a car in the advert.
yeah.
And when I apply this to Doctor Who, I sometimes wonder when we have arguments in Doctor Who fandom, I don't think I'm watching Doctor Who. The product has been changed, but they're not bothered about it. You know, when people argue with them, they say, it doesn't matter because can't you see that character there? And can't you see this? And you're going, hold on a minute, but the whole product's gone. And what we get is just touches of all the things that you like, that colour, that blemish, that this. And in a way, I can see that's my idea anyway, Rachel.
Well, they've certainly done that. And especially in the recent one, they haven't held back on it. You know, I mean, they kind of did it in New Who, particularly when it first started. Not so much with the Eccleston Doctor, but certainly when they brought David Tennant in, things started to change. And then obviously we had what's his name, Moffat, and that was fine. I mean, other than Missy, they did that, but and then we had the changes with the Doctor going from male to female. Oh, suddenly now we've got all of this, and the Timeless Child, you know, and they're just unwriting everything, and now they're just doing what they want and turning it into something that's completely different. So they've gone from being good, great, whatever, to being this product that we're not recognizing. I mean, look at this, like the different outfits of Ncuti Gatwa. Nothing identifiable anymore.
Well, you mentioned, I mean, I've put a few up there because of the color, because you saw the colors in the Jaguar advert, and I thought, well, do you know
Yeah.
what? We seem to be playing with a similar palette. But if you just bear with me for a few clicks, I will show you all the costumes in the last season of Doctor Who, and then we can maybe really start comparing about what's going on. So here we go. I mean,
No. Oh, sorry.
yeah, go on.
Oh, I was going to say what's interesting about this is there seems to be that they can't help but bring it back to at least one thing. So because obviously he's not recognizable, but they can't help but keep bringing back that jacket.
And when I
So
showed
we
the
have to make
news
them
item on
recognisable.
Joys to the World, they've actually updated some of the colorization again, but we're going vivid. What did the Jaguar advert say? Live vivid.
Yeah.
And vivid is the Doctor we have now.
Yeah, flamboyant. Flamboyant. Reckless.
Cliff,
Not the Doctor.
where do you stand, Cliff, on this? I mean, am I overblowing this idea?
Am I allowed to say on a British stream? I don't know.
Go on.
Well, it's mind control. They're not asking you to buy a product because they don't show you the product. They're not asking you to recognize the name or the brand. They're asking you to unthink the brand, to dump it, to scrap it. Centuries of history, decades at least, right? And what we want is something pink and purple. And yeah, they're stepping out of a TT capsule there in the advert, right? They're drawing on every kind of British cultural thing and flipping it on its head. To me, and even stuff like my ancestry is Scottish, Maxwell and Peebles, Dumfriesshire area, and spinning around dancing in a kilt. That's a little. I don't understand why we're the edict is to superimpose a new ideology on top of everything that's old. That doesn't make you better. It doesn't make you. It just means that you're the one being the bigot to me. That's you taking other people's space and superimposing your ideas upon it, which is what they're saying that's being done to them, and that's why they need this highlight.
What were you going to say, Simon? Go on.
I'm sorry. It's Shooty being a fashion victim. He likes showing off and showing lots of stuff. He's quite happy to dress up appropriately for the 60s and for Rogue. But the rest of the time, he's just wearing what he feels he likes to wear. Whereas all other doctors never change their clothes at all. I mean, Tom Baker did a bit, but not so as you'd notice. He didn't change the style. But he's just a fashion victim as far as
this is what I mean. How is this progressive to make the male lead, at the moment he's a male lead, into an objectified doll?
Well, he played Ken in Barbie.
And this is it. And when I did the Vanity Fair Saloon, when you look at the interview there, I mean, he talks about, well, I've played an aristocrat, obviously, in Importance of Being Earnest. I've played a doll and I've played an alien and a teenage 16-year-old. Well, that's not range, because some of those characters are weird. I mean, aristocrats, really, but the aristocrat he's playing in Importance of Being Earnest, we'll discuss. To play an alien, well, do what the hell you want, it seems. RTD allows him to have a blank canvas. Play a doll, well, excuse me, I don't think that's given you a challenge.
There was no depth in his doll.
No.
It was plastic.
Okay, well said.
Metaphorically, Andrew. I think they're adding, like you said, they're adding layers that ought not be there, and then or don't add to the story or the character, and they're underselling the layers that they're not mentioning, like Time Lord and Time Traveler, and all those things are gone.
Well, Cliff, as you know, RTD has said, the Doctor was pompous in the classic era, so we need to kind of, distract and do other stuff and maybe make him vivid. So the Doctor or the show, and I'm going to go into some of the details on where I think this is actually too close to the blooming, the Jaguar advert. The exuberance. Well, obviously the shooty Doctor, RTD seems to want him to be very out there, I'm here, darlings, and honey babes, and all the rest of it, and to be very vivacious and out there. So the exuberance I can see, never mind the costume, and never mind some of the language used. If you then talk about being vivid, colorization, for example, for a second, delete the ordinary. Well, the Doctor can no longer be an Edwardian British gentleman. That's gone.
I'm not so sure it's gone. It's certainly been thumped on the head, but it can definitely return.
It could definitely return
right.
as a probability contrarian, but I have to say, if we wagered the bet now, what's the betting that there'll never be another British, as in white Caucasian Doctor for quite a while?
Well, I don't think it needs to be white Caucasian to be British. There's British aspects of Doctor Who that can be portrayed by anybody at all, frankly. But following the social mores and trying to be America and vivid in lots of different ways, and avoiding what is considered to be pomposity, but having what I would say was sort of intellectual awareness. I don't think there's anything wrong in that at all. I think that's what Doctor Who is somebody who can teach you something, somebody who is above something. And then I'd like to point out that I think the shooty character, having had his soul torn in half, as he says, is probably going to revert at some point in the future when his soul is returned to one full thing. I suspect that has been seeded.
It's just that why do we have to invest in all that tosh until it's finally completed? Jeremy, I know where you stand regarding season 1, but how far would you buy into my argument and analogy with the Jaguar Effect and RTD, BBC, Disney seem to be trying to do the same kind of color palette, the same kind of, it's got to be louder and brasher, but maybe no depth, that kind of thing. In fact, maybe no product.
Well, that's it. That what are they actually selling? I mean, when I looked at that ad first time round, I thought, oh, perhaps they're advertising scent. I thought this has got nothing to do with selling cars, because you can't see the car. If you're a car enthusiast and you like Jaguar cars, you want to see what they've got on offer, not to see a lot of people dressed up in costumes or actors dressed up in costumes coming out of what looks like a yellow TARDIS. I mean, it looks more like a scene out of Doctor Who, and it wouldn't be out of place in the present series. This the purple background and the yellow TARDIS or whatever it is coming out of.
In a way, that set just on the screen now could be an upgrade for Galaxy 4.
It could be season 2 of the new Doctor Who series.
That could be our colour. In fact, it was the colour palette for the blooming Doctor Who Monthly for quite a while recently, wasn't it?
But I mean, I do buy into it. I think in the sense of what you're saying, in the colour palette, etc., etc., etc.
I think it's just somebody showing off, trying to make a mark. And I think it can be ignored as such.
Well, it's just that Doctor Who's further down the road, unfortunately. This is just an advert that's just come out, but Doctor Who's been going for a while, and I'm seeing patterns.
This is selling an idea. It's not actually selling the product.
Yes.
And the product being Doctor Who, not a concept.
Now, the whole idea here, and I'm looking at some of the language, everybody, it says copy nothing. Rachael, remember in one of our streams, we talked about RTD in one of his countless interviews when he said he doesn't want the shooty Gatwa actor to look at the old Doctors or discuss them. In other words, copy nothing, start afresh, darling.
Sorry. Yeah, copy nothing. It's certainly hasn't copied anything at all, has he? Really, if you think about it. I mean, what we're seeing in the writing is certainly not reflecting anything. That would be associated with the Doctor, as far as I can tell. So
Absolutely.
he certainly achieved that.
Yeah. I mean, we've just discussed bits of Tomb of the Cybermen and everything, but basically, copy nothing is RTD's philosophy. Don't discuss old Doctors. Don't. I'll plunder it at my heart's content whenever I want to as a writer, but don't you dare mention it on set. So copy nothing. That really, I could see a crossover there thread. But I will continue. You know, all this colouring, I'm just showing you again in case you never saw the Jaguar advert. Look at these colours. And if you've got a good graphic background, this is millennial, you call it, Cliff?
You know, I'm taking. I've gone back to school, online courses, of which I had to take 3 whole semester and a half worth of DEI and how to think again courses. Part of which, and this is for being an art teacher, one of these days next year, was in audience analysis. What you're looking for in the audiences that you're selling to, and this is the color palette that millennials dig, apparently. Now, chat may say something differently, but I don't agree with it either. I don't know where they're getting I don't know how many people how many millennials did they go out and ask us like how you feel about pink, and they all said yay, and I don't know where they're getting the data. But these are the things that seemingly appeal on an advertising level. Is these softer.
It seems to be subtleties gone. That's what it seems to say. That's why it says live vivid. Now, just like there's the advert there. I'm going to show you now another thought. So just hold that, keep that shot in your head, and I'll just kind of jump along a little bit to the next kind of example. Here we go. This was the graphic design, the artistic kind of presentation for the new opening sequence, and people have started to say the color palette is interesting. It seems to be close to a certain flag. It seems to be close to certain parts of a flag. Simon, I know you're shaking your head and you are the contrarian, but you know people are starting to wonder.
We'll have people look at the NASA color palette for showing up aspects of Hubble and James Webb Telescope images, because that's what this is based on. Some of these I would have guessed were those. It's a scientific representation of gases that you can't actually see specifically, which have been colorized in order to show the things up. There's a possibility that some of them might be visible to the human eye, but that's not what it would look like. But what would happen would be if a PR type person sees something and they love the look of it, ignoring any aspect of the realities or the importance of it,
the thing is, though,
they'll just go for it.
The thing is, Simon, I'm comparing to Star Trek. I'm comparing to other science fiction, Alien. I'm looking at other science fiction, and I'm wondering why Doctor Who's gone all like this mad color palette of kind of space is magical, space is Tinkerbell, space is all like, you know.
I've seen the photographs.
No, but I've seen, but I've also seen Man on the Moon, and actually, it's pretty dark.
Oh, it is indeed, yes. But this is the Horsehead Nebula, the Pillars of Creation. This is the real thing that's out there. I mean, that looks so much like images I've been collecting. It is extraordinary.
However, I take what you're saying, and that's why you're here. But I'm also saying other science fiction franchises. I think
have not seen those programs.
However,
they are rather old compared to the new title sequences of Doctor Who today.
Well, okay,
anything new coming up.
Well, let me
will indeed follow that.
Let me just bring in Jeremy as well, because obviously I've got to keep it all moving. Jeremy, where do you stand on this, on the colour? I just think Doctor Who's now become like some sort of psychedelic joke.
I don't mind a bit of colour. Because it was quite colourful in the 1970s. and I like the John Pertwee sequence, the first title sequence. That was very good. So I'm not too fussed about colours in that respect, but I think there is a kind of an element to getting the colours of the rainbow flag. That's what it does appear to me.
There's an element. You look, I've gone 30 years in teaching, and I'm fine, and I'm very moderate. What I am saying is this piece of evidence. Oh, and this piece of evidence, and this piece of evidence, and this piece of evidence, and I'm sorry. And then you see the Jaguar advert, and then you see other companies, and you're going, it is fascinating as an idea. Rachel, am I jumping too far down this rabbit hole?
Well,
I think so.
I don't know. I was going to actually say that, is it possible that because this has happened so much within the culture wars and all of that, people have become a bit more on the edge about this sort of thing. So when they see that type of color palette, they think, oh my gosh, this means this, when in actual fact it could just be a purely innocent thing based off of something else that's not actually what it is, what people might be thinking it is. I'm just throwing that spanner in the works.
And
I don't mind that.
Yeah, and Claude, who was on here last week, he got his own channel as well. Star Trek, he's a Star Trek fan as well. Is new and also has a very colourful title sequence. So I will.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I will always grant that, but of course, my argument overall on the Jaguar Effect of Doctor Who still will hold. Go on, Cliff. You wanted to come in.
Think of the wording of the Jaguar ad is you must change. You must think differently. So what they're challenging people to do is either get on board or stay off, right? And so what's happening with this kind of vibrant color effects or different color palettes that they're using is that they're creating a reaction one way or the other. You're either going to see based on these ideologies and these boxes that they're trying to push us into through advertising, through marketing, through these statements. This is me as I've been doing graphic design for 20 plus something years. You want to have that reaction because you want people to either follow the sign or follow the product brand colors or whatever. This sort of thing puts people involuntarily on their side of the line. And you're going to have people that gravitate toward it because they find the rainbow flag represented. You're going to have people who have a negative reaction because they think they see the rainbow flag represented, and it's going to and what they're. I think it's a misconception of what marketing and advertising are supposed to be doing. They're trying to rebrand it as something that they want rather than what it could be.
Let me just bring in a few things here because there's quite a lot to get through here. David Harding, and I'll get this in. Remember in the early days of New Who, when the colour of the time vortex was red or blue, depending on whether the Doctor was going forward or backward in time. Yeah, I do remember that.
Scientifically valid, yes.
And this is my argument, David, that I did contest. Has the Jaguar Effect, so to speak, been going on in Doctor Who since around 2005 or maybe just in the last year or two? Because a lot has changed in Doctor Who. Now, you could say it's become more... You see, RTD's inclination as a writer is for colour hyperbole to be a brasher and louder. It just is. Nuance and subtlety are less of his fortes as a writer. And so basically, this is part of him, I know, in wham bam, thank you, ma'am, let's knock the socks off Saturday night takeaway, Ant and Dec. Remember what he said in 2005? We need to be louder, more colourful, faster. Well, this fits that vibe. But my concern is, and I am taking what everybody's saying, everybody. For example, the Colin Baker psychedelic, disco opening sequence. I remember it well. But gosh, he had a very loud outfit. Bless him. He had a very loud opening sequence, and it didn't sell that Doctor, did it? Bless him. It didn't. Although SG does say it was his favourite, and that's allowed.
It's my favourite too.
Yeah. But it's just, this is part of an evidence, of course. I might be wrong on one thing, but the point is I'm going through So that was one area I wanted to show you regarding the Jaguar Effect. Okay, then. I haven't sold it totally. Let's just go down this path then. They did say the characters in the Jaguar adverts are quite, I don't know,
Teletubbies.
larger than life, Teletubbies. I think we have every facet of male, female, non-binary, trans. I think we cover this new range of palette of human, apparently. And it just made me think of the last season of Doctor Who. Am I going too far? No. I'll show you them in a minute. Don't you worry. What was I going to show you? It was this one, wasn't it?
I dread to think.
No. You've got the maestro on the piano. That was all very, the Bridgerton Rogue episode was very kind of much bigger and larger than life, even in the dialogue and everything. And so I just thought, yeah, it has been that kind of vibe all the way through. Go on, Rachel.
No, can I ask a question? So Disney Plus, right? So these are obviously on Disney Plus. Do these go into Muslim countries, Disney Plus? Because those episodes wouldn't be allowed into Muslim countries.
Well, it is a fascinating thing to me that I know when the Eurovision is shown that there's an awful lot of Arabic countries who won't show certain acts. And the British one last year was not shown. It was too homoerotic.
Yeah.
And I'm showing you, obviously, a scene from the vivid, exuberant presentation that we're going to talk about a bit later of the importance of being earnest. And there's lovely Cutie wearing the same boxes, it looks like, as he was in The Giggle. But now he's got a pink dress. He seems to love this. Instead of a kilt, he's got a pink dress. And to be honest, I haven't got the time to go back to the Jaguar advert, but it looks as though he could just walk into that Jaguar advert. I know this is not Doctor Who. Yeah, I know this is not Doctor Who, but you know my point. He seems to be playing similar. And as Doctor Who, he has been in a skirt. He has been in loud, vivid clothing. He has been predatory with another fella. I'm sorry, but are we just seeing that there's a certain style of character that they want on TV in theatre now, and that is it?
I think you're right, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But a uniformity of individualism, which sounds like an oxymoron, but if everybody tries to be different, everybody effectively is the same.
What part does he play in?
I'll show you.
Algernon? Is it Algernon?
Algernon.
Is it Algernon?
It is.
Okay.
Is that supposed to be a male character, I take it?
Yes.
Yes.
Why is he in a dress then?
Oh, I'll come to it. Don't worry, Jimmy. I'll come to it.
He's not very well. He's been suffering from bumbriism.
So, I said I had an argument to make about Doctor Who in the last series, and I do think if you think of Space Babies, you think of Devil's Cord, you think of some of the storylines, I do think it has gone for the gimmick. It's gone for the louder statement rather than a deeper, rounded character. And certainly there's no subtlety. There's no subtlety in a bogeyman, snot monster, and nappied babies.
Yeah.
There isn't.
I agree.
There's nothing absolutely terribly wrong about it either. I mean, scientifically,
Well, it was naff.
spark gases are the very thing that rockets are powered by. The fact that you can possibly aim it is pretty much irrelevant. But I mean, it's the same stuff. It holds together. And the nice idea that you can the snot monster was created by the same thing that created the babies, the same machine, and it was running on an algorithm based on an idea of what was expected, as in children's stories. That holds together. It's when you take the bits out that it falls apart. But I had to really watch it to see that. Wait
till I show you the news item of what was missed out of that. Go on, Cliff. You were coming in then.
Well, I mean, just the tagline of copy nothing, but they're doing the same thing that everybody else is doing.
Exactly.
Mm.
Yes.
It's completely oxymoronic. The entire approach always ends up being that way, and we're not talking about an F-type, are we? We're not talking about Doctor Who. We're talking about whether something is pink or purple, or whether they did, whether they had enough representation. It's like you're missing the entire point of what average you're selling a product.
Exactly.
You have to have brand integrity, or you have nothing. That's always been the basis of this kind of marketing and everything.
What a brand means, isn't it?
But the
You got-
brand of
The same brand.
You're
The
selling
brand
a
it's
product.
it's a disdain for the brand, right?
Yes.
They feel like they must destroy it in order to remake it into what their vision
But this is one of my thoughts on Doctor Who. Which is, I have to go back to 2005, Rachel, when I think it's been companion centric. Rose, Martha, Unrequited Love, and we go all the way through. And we go through to season 1 when it was all really about Ruby Sunday finding her mum. It's not about the Doctor, because RTD is bored by an alien in a police box. And so from the Space Babies, Star Beast, all these stories, it was the reason. What we've all talked about is the pronouns, the female presenting Time Lord, and we could go through all this again. We said it again last week, because that's all he's interested in, really.
Yes, that would seem to be the case. That's what he believes is to be the way forward, I would assume, from what he's been saying. And it's going against the grain, and people are not liking it, because we're being told this is what we have to, adjust to, and it's just making people switch off.
Yeah.
People have no reason, no hook to see that there's something to switch on to. If everything is the same, if there's no brand differentiation, how can they spot anything they want to see? Doctor Who used to be a quintessentially British thing, whatever British is, and that seems to have been thrown away.
But this is why they keep trying to pepper in, like, oh, maybe Susan's coming back, maybe Susan's returning, and I think she should steer well clear, Carol Ann Ford.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So you've got all of that going on, and I think that's what they're hoping people will watch for. But are they going to?
You see, you look at some of these
Out it.
photographs. So this is the bi-generation one, we all know, in the white briefs and everything. And as we'll go through some of these photographs quickly of season 1, you'll think, well, that's what he's playing in Importance of Being Earnest. That's what he looks like in Sex Education. That, I don't see. And by the way, not that I have to rattle through every slide and talk about it or comment it, but when we talked about the Jaguar car not being in the advert, because it was all about a vibe, it's all about a virtue that you're trying to sell rather than the product. In the Goblin one, the church on Ruby Road, we had a song and dance routine, Doctor Who. Why? And as you said, Cliff, they say copy nothing, but it's oxymoronic, because they're copying everything in sight. They want to do a Buffy musical. They want to do Strange New Worlds. I have been so peed off that he's actually trying to copy other brands when Doctor Who was so distinctive and different.
Absolutely, yes.
Set the standard yourself.
Yeah.
Show Star Trek where the bar is.
Absolutely. Like we've done since the beginning.
Yeah.
The most Doctor thing I've seen Shooty do is that jump over those chimneys.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. Yes, that was excellent.
yeah.
It's one of my favorite bits.
There were tons of bits, but that's the way. I would hate to say that's the way TV or entertainment is now across the board, but it's definitely the way RTD approaches it. He doesn't seem to really understand the whole, and he wants to seed it with a bunch of bits so that he can tell his, get across whatever his kernel is at the end, message.
There's a bit which I don't think fits in with that in the gnome story. His language of ropes, which I thought was wonderful. That was a really doctory clever thing, and it worked for me. What I am frightened by is this drifting into a universe where the laws of physics don't work.
Yeah.
Which I think is poor writing. I think is basically a complete cop out, and I will disdain it as long as I can.
Well, Jeremy, obviously, I know this was problematic as a season for you, but of course, if we just added to the fact that you had, God, there's so many things that were just offbeat about this series, and I was just going to try and link to something that Simon said then. But Jeremy, I mean, I just found that the Doctor wasn't the Doctor, the product wasn't there. We were getting a very different thing, and that was a Doctor Light series, let's be honest as well. That was another problem. The Doctor didn't seem to know what a heroic quality is.
Yeah.
He didn't seem to know what a leadership quality was. And just like you said about the language of ropes, Simon, the other problematic elements were a hot summer with Houdini. Oh gosh, wasn't Isaac Newton hot? Oh, is that who I am now? Oh, Rogue is hot. And all of a sudden there was a theme that the product, the Doctor's product, and I'll come to you, Jeremy, was suddenly something else, and he fancies everybody in sight. And Donna Noble, you're gorgeous. What's this?
Exactly. I mean, you hit the nail on the head on that one. I mean, it's taking the program into a very different direction, which a lot of fans are not happy about.
The split soul that Shruti mentioned is going to re-amalgamate, and I think that when that happens, we'll be happier bunnies.
Well, that's how it should be. It should be. You should go back into David Tennant again, and then David Tennant should go into the TARDIS, and then the series should be rested for a couple of years and then reset and brought back.
It's an effect. It's an acceptable coming out of the shower moment.
But except people can be teed off. I mean, Dallas was the famous moment. Our family stopped watching Dallas after that because you just invested in how many 20-odd episodes just to find out it was all a dream. I mean, what a load of tosh.
Dallas was good for a few years.
We can do, though. Apart from just a totally new Doctor and just another reset like we normally have.
I'm completely conspiratorial in that way, and I think that it's somehow built in as a escape valve. Should the Shooty approach and should this RTD approach not work, they can always rewind, redial, and go back to a Tennant proper regeneration and reunite them, as you say. And now he's brought back whole again, and everything's fixed, and then take it in a new direction.
Yeah, the
way.
Yeah, the only problem is they don't have time. Enough of time to do that because we're talking about season 3 and season 4.
On the grenade, so.
And the BBC will they might do season 3, but season 4 looks very, very doubtful. Depending on what the ratings are going to be for season 2 and the Christmas special, etc.
As Matrix Lord says here, good to see you. The 15th Doctor will be near death and then find out he can't regenerate. The 14th Doctor has all the regenerations, and then there'll be a kind of joining.
Yeah.
Interesting idea. But again, it's like the Bobby Ewing bit, which is why have I bothered by that point watching 2 or 3 seasons of a half Doctor, of a strange Doctor? Well, I'm not interested. I want to see the Doctor.
Yeah, this Russell T Davies version is a cop out. Sorry,
I'd much rather the Doctor basically regenerates as a different Doctor and charges off from that point on. But to try and tie things together, they could do that thing. I mean, we know about parallel universes. That's been accepted. We know about parallel timelines. To a degree, that's been accepted. So, we've got the space in which we can play with it. But the coming out of the shower bit just completely wrote the time off. How on earth he can sort out Sutek, I can't really imagine. But,
I have it.
But this
all
is it.
There's the Toymaker.
Yeah, well, and
you fix all your mistakes by saying that it's been the Toymaker all along.
That's not an accepted answer. That's just
No, I think that, like you said, I think they've dug their hole too deep. These are ways I think that they could try to get out of it, but
Yeah.
there's not much time to redo it, and it may just be too deep a hole.
And you
I
might
mean,
have
they've already
triggered
dug it.
people you might have triggered people too much. So you know, there's a few ideas I've got for the Jaguar effect, but I've got another little mini debate to throw at you folks. Just hold. You've just mentioned him, so I'm gonna link to that perfectly.
From
So,
Jaguars to minis.
yes. So the next Vox pops in the Vortex that I want to show you is this. And this was raised on Facebook. If I just go big screen so I can actually just read it out for you. So you've got here, how do you think about how RTD handled one of the more controversial aspects of the Toymaker? Originally, he was called the Celestial Toymaker. Apparently, that can be problematic depending on who you are and where you live. And then we had to channel this element of racism. RTD dropped the costume in favor of a mocking use of various accents and a comment about his customer being used to sunnier climes. When I heard that line, I was a little surprised the BBC would include it, but since seeing some interviews, I can understand the context for its inclusion in terms of the Toymaker's character. Is this something they should have left out and erased from his character? Or did you think it was a smart way to adapt a problematic element of a legacy character for modern times? Now, it's quite loaded because I'm not quite sure I think the Celestial Toymaker is a problem.
No,
but I'll go on, Rachel.
Yeah, there's something that really bugs me about that. What they've done is they said the Celestial Toymaker with the term celestial and the costume and all of that was problematic, and then they essentially take all of that away, drop the celestial part, and make him German. So isn't that just doing the same
that's
thing?
perfectly all right, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, this is the underlying mechanic of the DEI approach.
Yeah,
to me,
I
grew up with seeing this, and the whole Asian thing was just trappings. He's outside of time and space. Why did he choose that? We don't know. It's never explained. But the word celestial relates to how he is juxtaposed in time and space. That's the whole point of the story, right?
That's what I thought. Yeah.
So saying this is we're going to change it, and here's the excuse we've come up with to show you why you're wrong.
Yeah,
and it's that do not copy, that kind of mindset, that kind of Jedi mind trick that are trying to.
I mean, Neil Patrick
use
Harris
to change what they want.
is incredibly talented. So you know, I wasn't surprised when they announced he was going to be the Toymaker. But they could have just had him use his American accent. There wouldn't have been anything wrong with that. Although he could have also used an English one. He does an English one quite well.
It's just
the German accent is another cultural appropriation thing.
Yeah, you see, the German thing. I mean, I think when we did the review of this at the time, it was our first ever show, actually, and that was in December 16th or 15th. And when I talked about it, I said, to be honest, the outfit they gave the Toymaker in the giggle there, he looks like the Toymaker in Pinocchio or in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And so basically you went for another kind of cultural trope. Then they laid on the accent, as Rachel said, and I thought, really, are we doing that? And then he did the English gentleman with the top hat, and we can mock that, and we can mock other things. That's all allowed, but there's certain things you can't mock, and this is the thing with the DEI nonsense, which is some things you can mock, some things you can't. It just depends who you are, I suppose, who has the power. I just had no problem with the words Celestial Toymaker. I certainly saw no...
Who actually was upset with that?
What's RTD looking
for? Somebody thought somebody would be. I don't think that ever happened.
Well, this is the problem, isn't it, nowadays, that people are starting to say, I take offense on behalf of somebody else. I'm getting rid of Davros in a wheelchair because I think somebody else might be offended who's in a wheelchair. All of a sudden, we are representing other people. And actually, with every one of these cases, you know, some people are saying, hold on a minute, I'm not offended by this. How dare you patronize me? I'm fine with this.
Well, even the
I-
connection to the Chinese culture is from their own language. It's from their putting them. They in ancient times they believed they were celestial beings. That's not derogatory to the Chinese. It's actually celebratory of the culture in a way.
I didn't
You
know
know,
that.
you're calling on things.
Yeah. Go on, Rachel, you were going to come in.
Yeah, I can't remember what I was going to say.
Okay.
I mean, I'm fine with Celestial Toymaker. I mean, I don't think
that's
you know.
Absolutely.
I just don't think there's a problem with it.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, I've got confession to make. I never listened to like any of the audio recordings for the Celestial Toymaker or anything like that. I didn't actually watch it until it came out with the animations. I didn't even think anything of it, and I'm a millennial, so you know, and millennials are, you know, the ones that are recognizing injustices, woo,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing. But I didn't see it as an injustice.
And as John Steed says, and Ricky Gervais says this, and he's got the power to say it, and good for him. He says, just because people are offended doesn't mean they're right. And
True.
in this
Especially
case,
if somebody else is offended.
but in this case, it's perceived offence in the future, possibly a potential offence. Now, what we're trying to work out is, and this is where we get, you know, the Jaguar effect again. You end up making an advert that's not about a car, not about speed, hasn't got a bloke or a woman driving it, doesn't hit about net zero or petrol or diesel. It doesn't touch anything. And here you have, well, we can't have a Celestial Toymaker. We can't have him. Well, let's get rid of that garb. Let's change this. And I really don't want RTD to think in his present, you know, mental makeup, every possible character from Doctor Who can be changed, costume changed, name changed, gender changed. Oh, I mean, come on.
I agree.
But they can be reverted. That's my get out clause.
It can be reverted, but you're dicing with the viewership who may not come back.
You are definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
And I know this
So
is
yes,
this is a distillation. This comment is a distillation of what has been said, what people were saying, what you know. But were people talking about this? Gosh, this is a huge problem. This word celestial, and then where everybody's hand wringing, and for 8 or 9 years before, what are we going to do if this character ever comes back? No, nobody cared. Nobody was worried about this. And if you look into the history, or you look into the choice of the character and the building of the character, it's all to tell that particular type of story, and it's not meant to be offensive.
Why don't they bring back a character that they might think might be offensive and just take it from there and see if anybody writes in and say that's offensive and try it that way?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know.
But
or maybe we've done Hitler, right? And it's kind of pointed out in that story, he's an offensive guy, but I can't really do anything about it. Right?
But
So there's things you have to let go.
None.
But it's interesting that they're happy politically to provoke, trigger, offend, because you can't please everybody politically, but he will go there. So I find it very interesting as a concept that he thinks some things I can't offend, but in some areas I'm going to really... Dot and Bubble, the whole idea of the plot was to offend half the audience because they didn't notice something. You know, I mean, come on.
Was that part of the television program, or was that part of his statement after the event?
Who happens to be the man who makes the show and writes.
Yes, but the vast majority of viewers don't actually follow all the side chat.
Well, it's more than side chat. You're getting if I'm teaching about Charles Dickens, I will go to all the biographical detail about Charles Dickens, his marriage, how many kids he had, his political motivations to feed into Christmas Carol, etc. Because it does inform.
Now, you're making a very interesting parallel there. You're talking about Charles Dickens, a great cultural entity, and Doctor Who, which I would say is
It's a
a
big-
great cultural entity.
Yeah.
Doctor Who is the Shakespeare, the Dickens of our day.
Correct.
And as such should be treated with the same sort of veneration and derision as Dickens and Shakespeare were in their day. And what is good will live on and be rewritten in the future, as long as we don't destroy the original.
Yes,
I will.
That as American, I don't know if I'm the one outside the box seeing how Who has been presented, how the character Doctor Who has been presented. But to me, it's always been that vehicle where you have the professor, your stereotypical elder white professor who has the different perspective on everything. You didn't see the mutants as alien bugs, but they really deserve a chance. You're looking at this incorrectly, but here's the proper way to go about it. And that kind of character where it's just he's supposed to be that establishment sort of character, but one who's splintered off from his own locked in society to go out into the greater universe and find, explore the secrets of it and the truths of it.
You've got Gore Vidal here saying the new episodes have been worse than patronizing, but boring. I don't blame Davies. He had an idea that was greenlit, but it's those that approved his vision that are responsible. And as he says, he doesn't work with anybody who doesn't question him. Michael Nemo, gosh, you're really you're enjoying this button at the moment. But anyway, DEI seems to be about reparations for years of inequity at the cost of a franchise's history being sacrificed.
Yeah, and it becomes so exclusionary because you're doing it. It's really bizarre.
Last week, this inequity in television has got to be redressed, and I fully support that. But you don't need to scream about it all the time.
Well, you see, last week when I was doing a stream about when I did a live with Divan and Dragon, I did my saloon on the Vanity Fair interview. And then we had a few Scottish people in the thread who actually were in the same school as Ncuti Gatwa. And they said the staff there, the teaching staff who taught Ncuti, were offended by his repainting of his story as if he was starving, having a hard time. He's had to drag himself up. And they were very offended that he seems to have forgotten that he had quite a nice childhood, actually. Now, I don't know that, but I found it fascinating because, of course, while people are jumping on certain bandwagons at the moment, and I suppose in a way, go for it, because if you're the fad, in acting, Rachel, if you've got the look, wow, make hay.
Yeah, well, I don't have the quirky look at the moment, so there you go.
Well, this is it. And so, I get that, but please don't rewrite history. When everybody's trying to revise history at the moment, please don't rewrite it personally or anything, because, everybody started talking about truths. And of course you think, well, come on, Ncuti, what was your truth? I think you've obviously been to a good school. You've been very lucky. Was it, gosh, to get all these jobs and all the rest of it. I don't know why he moans so much, because he's done very well, actually, for somebody of his age in acting. And as you know, how many actors are not getting good jobs? There's more of them. So, wow, he's done very well for himself. I'm not quite sure why it's such a big anger thing for him. And
he's taking the role of those who have suffered and bringing it up. I think that's sort of acceptable, even if he hasn't. He's in a position of responsibility.
But it's the usual. It's speaking for other people you don't know.
Does he not know them? We can't say he doesn't.
Yeah, I'm gay, so I'm going to speak on behalf of all the LGBT community. No, there isn't one. There isn't one. On behalf of the whole community, I want to say
Rachael Zegler was a good example of that when she was talking about West Side Story. She's not Puerto Rican. Okay. And the one thing that she kept banging on about was the fact that she was doing, you know, proper representation, and the Puerto Ricans spoke up and they were like, "You don't represent me." So, you know, it's well,
You say the Puerto Ricans rather than a Puerto Rican.
the
I mean,
Puerto
there isn't a
Ricans, yeah.
the Puerto Ricans,
No,
as
there's no such thing.
Brendan
No.
said.
Groups.
But this is what I mean. In Doctor Who as a plot, in the messaging, and in many other shows, there seems to be this nonsense story going on now where one person is an emblem for everybody who looks the same or is the same. No. We're all different. I thought we were supposed to be arguing, especially in Star Trek and certain science fiction franchises, that humanity was all diverse and different, but not all part of, you know, that community all looks the same. We all wear, I'm gay, I'm going to wear a pink dress in a minute. That seems to be the story from Importance of Being Earnest, that I like to wear pink dresses in my private life. I find that
That is insulting.
I find that so homophobic.
Yes, agreed.
I just find it stereotypical nonsense tosh. And so these progressive plot lines and progressive production teams are actually falling into backward ideas. And then they're running Doctor Who and they're running Star Trek. And you think, what the hell is going on here? And we're not allowed to speak. We've just got to touch grass, apparently.
Well, the equity
Grass is
part
very nice to touch, I
drops-
must say.
It's a matter of end product. Is everybody ending up on the same page, and rather than being equal, I mean, having equal opportunities or equal representation, you know, an equal chance to be the Doctor.
Yeah.
That's based on whether you have the performance capability and the chops to do it.
Now, I haven't even shown you any news yet. Oh my God, we're triggered already. What? I don't know what to do first. I mean, I don't know whether I should just do this. But instead, I will start the news. Here we go. Oh my God, everybody buckle down.
Oh no.
It is.
So straight into this. Let's get this off the screen. Of course, Naughty Noble here. Let's have a look. I always have a one button. Right, here we go. It's pink. Of course, the future's pink. Sorry, we're not doing Jaguar adverts,
We
but
need
it might
shades.
just look as though we are. I know it's a loose Doctor Who item, but I'll link it to other Doctor Who items coming in a minute. So people stay patient. But this is our lead actor. Shooty Gatwa, you can see him in the bottom, I don't know, shelf or whatever. This is a version of Importance of Being Earnest I do not recognize at all. But here we go. I'll just show you the pictures first, and there's a few little things I want to show you because I'm fascinated by this, because we're all trying to decide, and Rachael, bless her, is trying. The jury's still out about whether she thinks, you know, he's established as a Doctor Who, and you know, she's you're holding on, aren't you?
Holding on. Tava's getting thin.
So there you go. There's an interesting picture. This is from the beginning, and I'm going to show you. This is from the beginning of The Importance of Being Earnest. Yes, I know this is not Doctor Who, but I have to say, as I showed you in the Devil's Card, I feel as though I've seen this scene already. So there we go. We're at a piano. He's wearing these giggle boxer shorts. So obviously, you know, you might as well recycle. And he's wearing a pink dress this time. Okay. Julian Bleach, by the way, in the background there. Can you see him stood up on the left? There's Julian Bleach. We'll see more in a moment. Now, what I'm interested by is just the reactions and some of the poses. And I sometimes think I'm looking at Doctor Who or Eric in Sex Education, I have to say. But let me just show you first of all. And then you get an element. I get a sniff of Rogue. I have to say, I get a sense of Rogue in the outfitting. I know, because it's larger than life. It's Bridgerton with on steroids to a degree. in what they're doing with the costume drama. Now, we're bothered about whether we've got a great actor in Doctor Who. So here's one of the reviews. Max Webster lands on Oscar Wilde's glittering Victorian masterpiece with the latest incumbent of the TARDIS drawing the crowds. Well, of course, we would expect that. Ncuti Gatwa is a riot in this big bouncy castle of a show.
Oh, man.
Yep. Now I'll show you this, and then I'll see what everybody thinks, and then we'll just do it. Yes, I know Peter Harrington, a handbag. You know, I can't do it. It's but anyway. Here I've got my highlighted bits. Ncuti Gatwa drawing the crowds and flying the flag for diversity in casting. Now, I haven't written that. I'm just reading that out. And then in the second paragraph, it says, and while, now remember, this is a reviewer, and while I don't want to be a party pooper, a slight sense of exhaustion set in watching Ncuti's concertedly exuberant, notice that word, please, subtext declaring earnest, which amply suits the gaiety of the panto season and has its moments, but it isn't really one for the annals.
Oh, God.
So we've got our lead actor who has delayed by all these scheduling. I mean, this is important to him, and so it's delayed a few things to do with Doctor Who. So if you don't mind, I think it is very relevant. We're still trying to work out whether we really like Ncuti as the 15th Doctor and whether he's got what it takes. It doesn't sound so far like the reviewer thinks he plays with nuance and subtlety, that he's like RTD. He can go large. Rachael, I should come to you first on that. As an actress, as somebody who knows the theatre, I'm just saying.
I'm just a bit speechless.
I think we all are.
Oscar Wilde.
This is Oscar Wilde. What?
Quite.
Well, it's more wild than Oscar.
Sorry, I know this article, not the article, but the photographs are actually kind of my fault because I did send them to you because I came across them.
Yeah.
I have no opinions on this at the moment. I'm processing what you've just read to me. Please come back to me.
Okay, well, so I've shown everybody that. So this is, have we got a real... RTD says he could be playing James Bond in the future. Remember that. So, and he was so lucky to get him. So we've got the fact that it's like panto, and he's very exuberant. He seems to be exuberant in everything. And as I said to Rachael on a few streams in the last season, sometimes I suppose in acting you have to be contained, I think. But anyway, the review goes on. They've really gone to town on the homosexuality and sapphic passions that weren't in the original and all the rest of it. And so they say it's a bold version of Importance of Being Earnest. It says at some points the play is trying to just make people laugh. So that I have actually seen another review that says it's got a sense of panto. But this is the page. Here we go. Prior indications were that this will be memorably transgressive in approach, because as you know, that's all they want to do nowadays. Webster has talked about his intention, this is the director, to bring out the queer shadow play. This is signalled flamboyantly at the start with Gatwa, impish and faux virtuistic in a ball gown at a grand piano, the centre of a dreamy whirl of pouring, cross-dressing society types. Right.
This is the importance of being earnest.
Yeah. Laying aside the fact that presenting a man in a pink dress as a model of homosexual liberation might not be deemed as passé, Gatwa's performance is self-aware, preening, droll, and camp, leaving you in little doubt as to where Olgin and Moncrief's proclivities lie. In other words, there's no subtlety. He gets suggestively close to Hugh Skinner's sweetly gauche Jack Worthing on a chaise longue, with a quick thrust of his butt and then a brisk, brute imitation of ordinary machismo. It sounds like Rogue again.
Do you know what I'm going to say? Right. They're putting this on him, and they're doing this because this is Ncuti Gatwa, right? So what are they doing for his understudy? His understudy is going to have to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I hope his understudy's okay with doing that.
Now, can I point out, we are criticizing something we have not seen again. And although
hold
I
on,
am
hold on, hold on.
really upset by
Hold
it.
on, Simon, I'm reading out a professional, and I know reviewers can be catty, but I'm reading out a reviewer who has seen it.
Well, yes,
Also-
it's
also
the
what you said-
reviewer's opinion, and we're trying to talk our opinion about something that has been reviewed by one person. How many reviewers have there been?
Simon, I've seen now about 10 episodes of Ncuti Gatwa's performance of Doctor Who. I have seen 4 seasons of Ncuti Gatwa in Sex Education, and I have heard from a reviewer about his performance here, and I am joining the dots.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'd like to join my own dots, though, before I could make an opinion which is based on more than second-hand dotterage.
Well, I've just said, I'll say it again. It's not secondhand to say I've watched 4 seasons.
Oh,
of
no,
Sex
yours
Education,
isn't, but
and
mine
I've
is.
seen a
I have not.
season. So, in other words, I've seen 5 seasons of Ncuti Gatwa. And it sounds as though he plays a similar character in each one of them. Sorry, Cliff, you wanted to come in.
Well, it's just going on what you said, and I originally, back in the day, have done some theater myself, and acting is a box. And if your approach is not to the fact that you're going to go in and embody the character, find the character as written and intended by the author, if you're going to put your own spin on it, you're not really doing the original work anymore. And to the point of, an understudy or anybody else, you're forcing that performance on the work itself. It seems it's a takedown of Oscar Wilde. It's a takedown of that culture and that the gravitas and the history that it goes back to the rebranding of Jaguar.
Yeah. I mean, a second reviewer today on TV was talking about this as well, and said it was very panto, and said that it was, they said, obviously the script, the dialogue of the play, they've gone for more physical comedy than they have the comedy in the dialogue, which is the richness of Oscar Wilde, of course. And so this is what a reviewer was saying, that it's gone more physical. And if you look at the photographs, you can see that, it's all very
Panto.
compared to just playing with the language.
Which is what Oscar Wilde was all about.
Well, I know, that's what I mean. It is
underplaying points, powerfully underplaying points.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say anything about what the reviewer has said. Those words were incredibly harsh. Maybe because that reviewer may have also seen what Ncuti has done in Doctor Who, perhaps some other things, and I don't know who the reviewer's name was, but maybe they just couldn't get that out of their head. I'm going to be seeing this anyway. I couldn't get tickets for the actual show. But I will be watching it in the cinema, so I will be giving my own opinion on it eventually. But
yeah,
it's really difficult just from the reviews. But that was quite harsh, I will say. I tend to be quite fair, no matter what I think of, like Ncuti's comments in real life. I am actually very fair on him, or at least I try. But and I want to be that. So it's interesting that the reviewer should say that.
It's interesting that obviously, I have studied his own words in the Vanity Fair article of recent note, and he has a team who advise him on roles, and he was holding back. He's played a Barbie doll, Ken doll character. He's playing Doctor Who, and he was holding back. So this version he thought was extending him, and he was the one who said he's trying to avoid typecasting. I will say that one more time. He said he was trying to avoid typecasting,
and this unfortunately puts him into a bit of a trap up on the left here.
He's trying to destroy things that he's considered to have been typecast by Gatwarizing things.
Yes. But in a way, Simon, I think RTD has kind of said in interviews that that's what he's done with Doctor Who, that he's Gatwarist. He listened to him, because didn't he say this, Rachael, that he he changed his writing when he saw Gatwa in rehearsals. And stuff.
Yes, yeah. And I don't know. It's I don't know about that.
Things were
it's an interesting one.
bowdlerized and accepted to a degree. I think Gatwarizing is something that could be accepted under those circumstances. With that understanding, I'll say again, as long as the originals survive.
Well, you hear Terence Dix actually talking about one of the Doctor Who plays in an interview. If you listen to it, it's on one of the Big Finish ones, and he actually uses the term bakerizing because it went from Pertwee into Colin Baker, and so they changed like the fist fights and things like that, and actually put in elements of his Doctor. So I'm guessing it is a thing.
And if you're a top actor, let's be honest, when you're a star, I'm not making a link yet, but when you're a star, they normally adapt things for that star. And you're seeing the star play several roles.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's one news item.
Can I just say, Richard Cant looks like his dad so much. Brian Cant.
Oh, yes.
I love Brian Cant.
Play away, Trumpton, the whole lot. Yes.
Carry on, Brendan.
I was
just looking at it. I was like, God.
So go on, Jeremy. What were you going to say?
I was just going to just quickly say the best option is to go out and buy the book and read it.
Yeah.
And bypass this stage production, and therefore you save yourself some money.
Well, it's a national theatre, so it won't be cheap anyway. I mean,
no, it's like over £100 a ticket.
Really? Do people pay that?
There are some cheap ones.
Yeah, it's for all the working class people. I think yes, it's aimed at them. He's bothered about them. No, I'm so Joy to the Worlds. Here we go. We saw a few more shots in a trailer. You can see his new outfit there, by the way. I know it's the same coat, but he's got a different top on for those people who like to talk about such things. And so you can see him there with this. Yep, there with the Silurian. And the suitcase is important, isn't it? The briefcase, sorry. You'll see it in various shots where
handbag.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. I'm using an awful lot of bits from different interviews here. So, as I think Ari Lee said, oh dear, yet more traditional canon is about to be ruined. The Doctor will tell you the answer to that question you've been asking since you were a small child, Moffat proclaims in Radio Times. The solution to the longest-standing mystery in not merely the Doctor Who universe, but the whole universe as a whole. As we said on a stream last week, why can't we go Doctor Who small scale? Small Jeopardy. It's localized. It's in a village. But if it's not dealt with in the village, like the android invasion, then we've got a problem larger. But why do we have to go for solve the universe, do this? It's just too large. Live vivid. What did the Jaguar advert say? Live vivid. So we've got that being promised. There he is, looking very different from his performance in The Importance of Being Earnest. He looks like a very different character here.
Then he looks like Arthur Dent.
And then they're doing an adventure. I have to say that shot is the closest to Doctor Who, really, which is he seems to be leading for once, and they're exploring. So that's okay. Anyway, there's that briefcase again. This time she's holding it, and it's important. I think we saw in the other trailer. I don't know if this opens up and you see the villain guard kind of hologram.
Is that her lunch in the case?
Oh, how very. It's been confirmed that the title is Joy to the World, so the plurality of that makes you wonder whether we've got parallel, time corridors with this hotel complex. Another shot so you can show off his chest and braces. Yeah. There you go. Going a bit Matt Smith there. Anyway. Let me just show you this. Stephen Moffat promises that his Doctor Who 2024 Christmas special is lighter and more fun than his previous episodes. It's not Blink. Well, it won't be. It's a Christmas Day episode, and we know what they're like when it's Moffat.
Quite.
Yeah.
It's entirely wrong for Christmas.
Yeah. So It's titled Joy to the World, although people have said it's Joy to the Worlds. The episode focuses on a powerful but dangerous piece of technology finding its way to a futuristic time-traveling hotel during the holiday season. If I just quickly get to the main bits. Here, Moffat is referring to Millie Gibson's character. Yeah, don't need that bit. And then we just talk about the Easter eggs. Prisoner Zero might be mentioned from the 11th hour, if that gets you excited. That sort of thing. Let's have a look. The writer Stephen Moffat has penned some of the best Doctor Who episodes. Yes, we know, with the Weeping Angels and all the rest of it. Yeah, that's just a spiel one. I've just trying to remember. Gatwa's Doctor will be joined by Bridgerton star Nicola Coughlan. Yep. So she's sure to bring some humour. Of course, humour's the kind of the unique selling point for Doctor Who, it seems to be nowadays. So we've got Prisoner Zero's incarceration status mentioned. And I think we're going to get a mention of possibly Amy. There you go. Is that exciting you, everybody? Great news. There you go. Breaking news. Jeremy, are you coming back to the ship? Are you joining again?
No. I'll watch the special edited version of the War Games.
On the 23rd, yes. Cliff, how does this appeal to you? You've seen the trailers, no doubt.
I've not seen the trailers.
Oh, so you...
This past season was enough for me to. The way it worked out is that something came up, like a kid's soccer game or something, and I just forgot that Doctor Who was going to be on. And I figured that if it's to the stage where I completely forget that this show that I've grown up with since 1975 was even on air, it's time to jump ship. This just seems. Why are the Silurians on a spaceship? They were caused out of the evolutionary cycle of Earth. They're Earth creatures, period.
And they're an ancient species.
I don't understand what they're doing.
Well, they're an ancient species, as we all know, and we do see a dinosaur in a trailer. So, we're going to go all the way back, and we can go all the way to the future. So it's
going to make them aliens, which is not what they are. They're
they're
Earthlings, and it's part of the story to relate that culture that we need to share our space with people who are unlike us. They're missing the entire DEI message that was in the original show.
Because, as you know, Cliff, because they'd rather sell some other message or vibe instead.
We didn't know this yet. We're just supposing. I would hope against hope that is not going to be the case.
You can do, but that Silurian looks as though he should be in a cheap Star Trek episode.
Well, there were a large number of different creatures on the Earth in the Silurian times. It wasn't just one race. That they talked about their cousins at the time, did they not?
Don't you want? I mean, come on, Contrarian, you must love the original Silurians.
But of course,
yeah. Much better than that.
Well, we don't know yet. I mean, all we see is a shot. It's perfectly good prosthetics, I'd say.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Yeah. Michael Nemo, it's not Blink. Quoting the article from Stephen Moffat, it's nowhere near the top-rated Who story next to Androzani of all time. Moffat not really selling it. The trouble is, as you know, Michael Nemo, and as I'll say to the panel, the Christmas specials, Moffat especially, they're not my favourite, and they tend to be very light. I mean, Captain Mysterio, remember that one?
Yeah, it's quite fun. It's very silly, all that dangling outside the window bit.
I mean, obviously, as an English teacher, there was the Christmas Carol-esque one with Michael Gambon.
Oh, marvellous. Yes.
Catherine Jenkins, lovely song, but, what was it? Sharks in the air and a strange time. No. I haven't missed any Doctor Who, but I have to say the Christmas specials are the ones that really grind me something rotten, I have to say. Rachael, are you finding anything appealing at the moment? I know I'm in a grinchy mood at the moment, aren't I? Are you finding anything appealing?
About
in the trailer? In any gossip about the Christmas special?
Not really. Do you know, I've actually followed it a lot less than the last one, if you want me to be honest.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I don't know what they did in the last trailer with the coloring. It's something that was very off about it. The texture of their skin and all sorts of things didn't look right either. You know, if you go back to the picture before on the Doctor Who magazine, you know, that looks normal. But then, you know, you look at the trailer and you're like, what's going on? It looks like they've lit it too much. They've obviously shot it perhaps on some kind of screen. It was a very bizarre. So it's not really appealed to me at all. Even the news. I
No.
will be watching it.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
watch it. But as people are joking, I see Devils now bellboys. I mean, it has gone really silly, Doctor Who, and that's true because the role that Silurian seems to have is like, and then of course, remember the Doctor. I've still got a problem with. Why is he turning up with this cheese and ham toasty thing? It just seems so.
It's a weird gag, but I guess
Yeah.
we'll find out.
Is it a pumpkin latte or something?
Pumpkin latte, yeah.
Yeah.
It's everyone drink pumpkin lattes are disgusting. Why do people drink pumpkin lattes? I will never know.
Well, it looks as though Lee Smith is dying to hear if I ever do a Christmas Day review because I explode.
Well, that's the thing. Would you be here to actually do that if you explode?
Oh, knowing the thread, they'll want to see my entrails come together, a bit like Lady Cassandra all over the floor, you know. Just
It's like a stop motion animation of you being put back together.
But no blood, of course. No blood.
No, yes, it's very clean, Sam, and it'll be very clean. So there you go, Joy to the Worlds, and I'm flicking through again, going.
Is this going to be the last Christmas special they're going to produce?
Oh God, we should, as a panel, we should have bets. Anyway, what about this? Are you excited by this, Cliff? I know you're on the other side of the pond here. Doctor Who has been named BBC Studios' largest UK TV export in the past year, with the show continuing to be one of the most exported in demand titles globally. You see, we've got it all wrong, Cliff.
Yeah, I mean,
Is this a factual statement?
largest in what way? Word
Quite.
use is, an important thing to consider here.
Yeah, well,
talking about the dollar value and of the brand, yeah, it is, and it would seem to me that if they keep wanting to sell it so that they can make their decision. It sounds like it was the right one to begin with, but
well, one, it's coming from TV Zone, and secondly, where are the facts to back all that up?
Well, it's 420 million because I've done it on a stream ages ago. They tell you the same fact for the last few years, actually, that the Cardiff base, as you know, RTD, Julie Gardner, Jane Tranter, they moved out of the BBC, started their own company. You know, RTD will only come back if they are involved, and it's all very and Cardiff is taking off. That's where the place to be regarding this. And it earned £420 million in exports, which actually in the scheme of things isn't off the scale, but it's still, they're trying to sell us that Doctor Who is still a big brand, Anna. That's what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
I can see the merchandise will be
true.
Yeah. But I still think they're trying to keep repeating the same line to say it's still good, it's still good. Now, this one, last night, me and Rachel were talking about the War Games in colour. And we did last week, actually, didn't we, Contrarian and Jeremy?
Indeed.
But this is the fan version that people have really thought is going to be the one that Phil Collinson was interested in. And I just want to ask the panel their opinion. Because I've seen this, I don't know if you have, but there you go. You've got Patrick Troughton sat in a chair in the TARDIS. We have the Tinkerbell regeneration dust. I won't say any more after last night. and then you get, what you're getting used to now, a very unexciting regeneration effect with Pertwee, hallelujah, in the same chair. Jeremy, number one, because you weren't on my stream last night, do you want to see this? Have you seen the YouTube version by the fan? And do you think it's a good call to add it in?
No, I think they should just leave it the way it has been over the last 55 years. I mean, I've seen some of that, but it's okay. It's all right. It's nice, but I'd rather them just leave it the way it was, personally.
Well, I said to Rachel last night, the irony is when they're taking so many scenes out with editing to then add another one in, it's like, excuse me, wow, gosh, what an indulgence. Simon, where do you stand on this?
Well, I think when I saw this, I was extremely impressed. I can't remember it very clearly at the moment, but from my memory, I think it was brilliant. Now, whether or not it should become canon is another matter, because I think this is, as I've said, an excellent opportunity to try and tie some of the other threads together and make the Renegade Doctor a real thing, because she was just so jolly good. Oh, hard luck. Yes, I want her to regenerate into Joma.
Yeah, it's not fair. As in, it's like the argument. We were saying this a lot yesterday, weren't we, Rachel? The first Doctor is the first Doctor. The second Doctor is the second Doctor. And really, we shouldn't be tampering with any of it. It's not fair on relatives, legacy, the whole damn lot.
But the Doctor himself, itself, did not know. Now, if the Master is just mucking about and making a mess of it, or if the Toy Master has made a jigsaw of history, don't know. It could be put back by not dealing with that line of salt, wiping it up or waking up after the shower. I don't know, but it can be sorted out. I just thought this was a really good piece of
now, Cliff, where do you stand on this?
I had the same reaction. The CGI, the transition, brilliant. But there's also the Stark. At the end of War Games, it kind of goes off into nebulousness, and then the first time you see Pertwee stumble out of the TARDIS, you don't even know you're dealing with the same person. So that sort of shock, I think, helps the viewer, not the character as much, but it helps the viewer kind of have to figure out what's going on for the next story. And I appreciate what they're doing, and it is a cool, regeneration effect, bringing the 2005 type regeneration energy and Artron, whatever is going on. I don't know what it really is, since we don't have a Eye of Harmony anymore to draw on, but be that as it may. I liked this. I liked the attempt. It's really, really well done, but I agree. I'd rather just leave it the same way that it was.
And I would rather RTD did not impose the Tinkerbell dust on every single regeneration in Doctor Who history, because I think that's going too far beyond his remit. Paul Morgate says here, let's cut out 2.5 hours of material and add in a modern regeneration. I know, I found that so rich, gosh, RTD says he doesn't like pompous classic doctors. My God, who do you think you are to say, I will take out somebody else's work and put my idea in? Wow.
I think he was being sarcastic.
I'm very interested to know what parts he thinks are worth losing. What 2 hours he thinks is worth losing, or whatever portion of.
Well, when we discussed it last night, Rachel, I think Lee Smith and a few others were saying a bit of episode 2, possibly. You said there might be a bit of the repetitive getting trapped, caught, and all the rest of it that could be taken out. Actually, somebody was telling me today when they wrote to me that the target novelization is actually quite skimpy, really, and obviously there's been a concise job done on that, really, on the story. So
yeah, but they might go down that route.
But there was a reason for that, because it was the number of pages that Target wanted. So he couldn't have done a thick volume on the War Games writing it.
And I'll say it now, there may be a remit about we can only afford 90 minutes of colorization or 90 minutes of enhancement. Yeah,
absolutely, yes.
And
of course, the time slot for the show. But why not have 2 slots?
Yeah. And as Peter Harrington says, we're now adding other scenes, the Sidrat in space. And we're getting rid of a scene maybe in the Roman war zone, but we'll add that in. It's an interesting indulgence, I have to say. Anyway, here's another bit. Now, this will get you all kind of think you was just about to go to bed, or people were about to just leave this stream. Let me just say this. The Doctor Who script confirms that there was a musical scene cut from the Shooty Gatwa episode. Now, that's 2, and I'm going to show you them both. I mentioned one last week. A Sugar Babe song was supposed to feature in the season opener Space Babies. And this is where the Jaguar Effect continues. Forget the product it's always been. This is our imposition of it. So basically, he has said he's really obsessed with getting music into this in every which way. But I'll cut to the actual thing. The push the button was the song, and I'll show you the script element. I'll go bigger so it just helps people out. So the moment would have occurred very early in the episode with the relevant portion of the script on page 3 reading, he wears the Sonic at the jukebox, click, needle slides over vinyl, lowers, plays the Sugar Babes, push the button. The track starts with a bar, then says the words push the button. The Doctor uses this to dance around a big button, blah, 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 blah. The time rotor moves, room jolts, a moment of anti-gravity as the Doctor and Ruby rise upwards, then down, la, 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 la. So they do a bit of mime into the music, etc. Now, before I ask your opinion on just a little bit of that, let me jump to this. Remember, because this was the Empire of Death, and at the end of that episode, we were going to... Sorry, that's still the same one. I apologize. That's the same one. I was going to show you. What happens is there's always a twist at the end was going to play as Sutek is killed. So we've got 2 examples. We've got the Sugar Babes in Space Babies, which is the Doctor miming and dancing a bit in the TARDIS. That could be called characterization. And then we've got more music. Right, I'll go down the line. Rachel, where do you stand? I know you like your musical theatre, but where do you stand on this?
Well, my degree's in musical theatre, but I didn't ask for songs in Doctor Who. Don't recall that. So I say no.
There's always a twist at the end. You love that song.
Yeah, but I think it would have undermined Sutek, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And well, I still, my problem with the Devil's Chord, well, and there's a lot, was the TARDIS door going to the musical beat at the end and then jumping on the zebra crossing. Oh God, it was just too much. I mean, can I just say this again? Music and something going on in Space Babies. Then the Devil's Chord was going to have the song and dance routine and did. And that was big on that. And then you were going to have this at the end. I'm glad they did edit. But remember, the original idea from our showrunner, who understands, he's a super fan of Doctor Who, was episode 1 music, Christmas special Goblin song, Devil's Chord music, Empire of Death music.
Maybe this just shows that he doesn't always get his way.
That is very true. That is very true. Or he even realised that he better stop. Jeremy, I think I'm going to persuade you to come back to the fold and watch this.
Yeah.
No, please. Why should I suffer?
If you think you're going to suffer, you definitely are going to suffer. If you don't think you're going to suffer, there's a good chance you won't. So I was told by the bloke who has done the audio description of the Christmas special.
Oh, right.
So there we are.
Right.
Okay. Cliff, this is sounding wonderful, isn't it?
I mean, you don't make Macbeth into a musical just because you can. It's no longer the same thing, And I don't know what they're trying to do. To me, when RTD started this whole reboot thing off, and then all the press was saying his entire approach was this is going to be more fantasy. Yeah, it's more his fantasy. It's more his fun. It's his, he's taking out his frivolity on Doctor Who and on us.
And may I say, I've forgotten one other item. There was music in Rogue. Can't Get You Out of My Head, Kylie Minogue. There was more music. There's been music throughout the whole blooming thing.
Spice Up Your Life in the Toymaker one.
So, it's not like a one-off.
The sound of drums.
Yeah, I know. So you see, so Dread New, obviously, you're dying to just see my reaction. I've turned into that, have I? I've just turned into some.
It's good to have certain old tracks of music like David Bowie, Starman, in an episode because it punctuates the story. But the only problem with that, of course, is the copyright. Because many years' time, are we going to have a situation like the Beatles, and they're going to have to edit that bit out? You know what I mean?
Oh well, look what's happening now. You see, here we go. Can we have a
Top
live
tip,
stream
yeah.
of Brendan watching the Christmas? special?
Just don't put it on the screen. The actual program. Just live stream. You and Jamie just sitting there watching it and
It
getting.
will have to be. It will have to be have a mute
Bloody
button
hell.
because. I tell you
I
what.
interject something that nobody seems to have noticed, and that is why did they lose gravity in the TARDIS when it landed, and how did the TARDIS land like that without any motion from the time rotor at all? And that's happened several times. Just bang, we've landed. Nothing.
Well,
I
was it?
don't like that.
No, was it space? No, was it the Church on Ruby Road when they were holding onto the railings and it was like flying quite precariously? I don't know what's going on. I mean, we've all had the fun in the 80s when they all kind of dive on the floor, don't they? They have to synchronize their falls and wobbles and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know.
There was always an explanation for it and a
Yeah.
surprise that it happened. But the TARDIS just materializing with a bang and nothing much else, and nobody noticing. I mean, it's as bad as the door not creaking when it opens anymore, which I
Now-
hate.
Now, this depends if you're a fan or not of Big Finish, but if I went down the panel very quickly, Rachael, Queen of the Walk, how can I do that? Doctor Who's Jodie Whittaker opens up about getting back into the character for audio spin-off. Are you going to get into the Big Finish 13th Doctor?
Probably not. I don't know about Michelle either. We'll have to ask her at some
Yeah.
point. But I don't know. I haven't made that decision. I haven't actually bought any Big Finish for a while, actually. So unlikely.
Yeah,
Unlikely.
it has to be something spectacular. I've bought the Derek Jacobi Master. I still haven't heard it though. I've bought it, but I haven't listened to it yet.
Fantastic. Oh,
Yeah.
gorgeous.
So it is a matter of taste, really. Some people don't like doing Big Finish. Jeremy, where do you stand on Big Finish, and will you go for this?
I haven't bought any Big Finish CDs for a long time. And certainly I wouldn't be buying anything that has Jodie Whittaker in it. That's for sure.
Well, she said it's her favorite. It's my favorite part. I adore playing the Doctor. On the first day, I said to Mandip, I don't know if I can remember how to do the voice. Oh God, what voice did I use? And she said that one. I thought,
I thought she used her own voice for that.
well, she went a bit. She did a kind of female David Tennant. I thought she tried to do something.
Oh, I get you. All right.
Yeah.
I think I know what she means by that. Yeah.
Yeah, she had to always look a bit kind of, goofy, really. They gave me a chair and I said, I can't sit down and play the Doctor. I know that's the other thing. I've got to have a Sonic in my hand and I've got to do this and do this because, all the publicity shots of every new Who Doctor's always, they're pointing at the screen with a Sonic. It's all very tentacled. Simon, are you a Big Finish lover? It sounds like you are.
I have enjoyed a very much quite a bit of Big Finish. I've got a massive backlog that I shall be going through. Can I just at this point out that music in Doctor Who is acceptable as long as it can be made clear, it can be heard by the characters, not played to us in perfect stereophony. Because that is breaking the fourth wall and that is utterly unacceptable.
Yeah.
I make this clear.
Cliff, where do you stand on Big Finish and would you be interested?
Well, I mean, I'm very interested in Big Finish. I don't think I've gotten anything since like Cartroya or something, way back in the ancient times, because I was so into the show that getting the novels and the CDs, the Big Finish stuff in the wilderness time was big, but she's frankly just not enough of a draw to me to get back into it. I think that the format might serve her better. I'm kind of like not a Jodie fan, but I'm not an anti Jodie. I think that her poor stories were a great deal to do with how she came off as the character. I think the writing was crap, and she couldn't make sense of what was going on. She was told not to research things like that. I think undermined her whole portrayal. I think she in Dr. Moments does a great job. So I think in a Big Finish setting where she's got it's all in the words, it's all in the narrative rather than the performance.
Well, they managed it for Colin Baker, so
yeah.
It could be the making. It could be the making of her as a revision. I mean, I'm open enough to realize that could happen because Colin Baker had a short run on TV, but yes, I know his audio has been brilliant.
Well, McGann's stories, Big Finish stories, fantastic. There's some really stellar stuff.
Yeah.
You
see, I never
with other guys from the novels and things, Bernice and it takes it in a whole direction. That's why I think that she could really shine and take it forward for them.
Yeah,
I'm not even opposed to Joe Martin doing it, as long as it's clearly they don't go outside of that box. Keep it her story, and that she's going to solve the problem, and it's going to.
It's just as long as they don't. Sometimes with Big Finishes, they say that. It might be canon busting, and then it's some of Big Finish is adopted for the television, and then it's bled in.
Don't try to answer those kind of big questions. I think she could be successful.
Yeah, I was just going to say I never really bought into Jodie Whittaker playing the Doctor, and that's why one of the reasons why I just don't like her, and I don't like her performance of playing the character. So I wouldn't be invested in buying those audios at all.
So there you go. We've been around the houses, and there's these other items I'll have to see for another day. But my God, thank you, panel. That's been full on. Loads said there. I will maintain the Jaguar Effect. Looks as though it's been going on. There you go. But anyway, thank you.
Materialization, I think, is something you should be.
Rachel, if you want to give a shout about your channel, what you're up to?
Well, I released a new video today. Well, finally, after I corrected many errors. It's now up and it's on the channel, albeit a bit late, but it's there. So I just covered Dalek, which was actually based on a Big Finish story. So please be sure to check that out. And then we'll cover the Woke Chaos Monday through to Wednesday. Thursday, nothing is currently running because I am changing over to a new system. So yeah.
Good luck.
At chat_ about it. I got it right today.
Yes.
I didn't remember it yesterday.
And hopefully, Cliff, for your first time with us, you've enjoyed it, I hope.
I think if everybody didn't mind what I had to say.
No. Is that Tom Baker's scarf?
It looks as though, yes, he's got this scarf there. Yes, he's
handmade by my wife.
Nice.
He was telling me yesterday, Rachel, that I joined with the John Pertwee, but obviously, clearly in America, you were grabbed by Genesis, weren't you? That's what got you.
Yep. That was the very first episode of Genesis the Daleks. I didn't know what I was watching.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And obviously, great to see you again, Jeremy. I know I'll have to get to you some classic Who. That'll get you going again. I know.
That'll get me stimulated, yeah.
And thank you, Contrarian Santa Claus. Santa Claus with attitude. Hell, thank you.
Can I put a plug in for my reading of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Thank you very much. My podcast, Torty Talks, TORTYTALKS. It took me a year to record it all, in the height of my long COVID croaky voiceness. But and it's being transmitted on Ambron Radio, which is an internet radio station at 12 o'clock on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and is available on all good podcast stations.
There you go. You can listen to Santa in bed. But no, but actually, people asked last week, didn't they? They obviously heard your voice and they said, "Oh, I'd like to know that." So yes, say it again. What's it called? Torty
Talks,
There
as in tortoise.
There you go.
And
So
one of the
thank you,
items
everybody.
explains why it's called tortoise.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you again. And thanks to the
Bye.
thread, you've been on fire as usual. Good night,
Good
everyone.
night, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Please like and subscribe if you